Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics, and it is, of course, 2015, and a very, very happy new year. I'm going to wish not only to everybody out there, but also to Mr Mike Parry. A very good morning to you, Mr Parry.
A very good morning, Mike, and a very happy new year to you. It's going to be a great year, 2015.
Is it?
It'll be the year of the mics, I think. You know
think
what I mean?
so?
Well, I think so. Why not?
Have you checked the Chinese year, like whether it's the year of the rat or the year of the sheep or something like that?
It's the year of the pig.
Is it the year of the pig?
And, of course, with the Porky Parry acronym. Is it an acronym? No, what is it?
Well, I suppose it's a nickname, Monica,
that I carry. That is why I feel, happy and confident.
Yes.
So it could be the year of the mics, despite dragging you around with me like a lead weight, despite carrying you and
you've been making some very disparaging comments about me, actually,
stressing
on
out
Twitter
my back. I don't think they're
days.
disparaging. I think just honest observations of what's going on, you know.
Making out that I spend most of my life drinking and eating. I mean, it's absolutely disgraceful.
Well, no, all I said that, you know, I'd become aware of your first 5 New Year resolutions. One was to eat. Second one was to eat more. Third one was to eat yet more. Fourth one was to eat a little bit more than that. And the
How
fifth
very
one,
amusing.
And I thought it was quite amusing.
Yeah, well, it's not amusing at all.
So did all my Twitter followers.
Many
and
of
I
your...
did say on the fifth one, you wouldn't eat, you'd drink to wash it all down.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is, I don't make New Year resolutions, so you got that completely wrong. And two, I'm not eating any more now than I ever did eat.
Well,
and,
I don't know about that.
I'm feeling very healthy. And you're the one who's telling me that you're feeling a bit poorly because you got a bit of a cold.
Well, my family was racked with cold over Christmas. We thought we got it under control, but it got so out of control now that one of my sisters had to go and get... what do you call these tablets? Magic tablets.
Magic tablets? What, like Lemsip?
No. You go to a doctor and you get them and they kill off all germs. What are they called?
Antibiotics.
Antibiotics, that's right.
Well, they're no good for a cold.
Well, I thought that as well, but apparently her condition is so chronic, she's got fluid on the lungs or something, she has to go and get that. My mum's been laid low by it all over Christmas, and, you know, my mum's...
So are you the responsible one for spreading, like you spread that lurgy in here the last time? The last time you had the lurgy, you spread it to everybody in here. I got it, the producer got it.
Mike, you've had it for weeks, you know that.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
I haven't felt better.
How many emails have you sent me over the last 2 or 3 weeks saying, I'm staying in bed all day today, I've got the lurgy? Did you or did you not send me?
That was ages ago. That was after you gave it to me. Now,
rubbish.
Since Christmas, since we've had the Christmas and New Year period, I've actually never felt better.
That's balderdash. And anyway, look, we're laid low with it. But, as usual, we were taught that when times are tough, you grit your teeth, you run through brick walls, you walk through circles of fire, and you get on with it, right? Yeah. That's the family motto.
You don't have to go that far.
That's the family motto. So that's what we're going to do. But anyway, look...
anyway, that's enough about you, because we've got you're not going to cough all the way through the show.
No, I'm not.
We've got loads to talk about. I mean, incredible news. Incredible day in football. Let's face it, 33 goals. The Chelsea result, which we'll talk to Mark Bosnich about in a minute.
Yeah,
Stephen Gerrard.
That is astonishing.
It is astonishing. I spent a long time on the show last night talking about Frank Lampard and how important he's going to be to Manchester City and how he could, in fact, be the architect of Chelsea's
demise. That headed goal was worth 2 points.
Well, it was not only worth 2 points, it's worth a share of the top. The only reason Chelsea are now top, as I say, is because their name begins with a C and not an M.
You're absolutely right. Just getting to the Spurs one, Mike, now you watched it on TV like I did, and of course we've been in a box at that ground fairly recently with John Sims, our friend, who very kindly invited us in. And what I'm saying is, I'm not boasting about being in a box at Spurs, but it is a small, intimate ground, isn't it?
It is.
You know, it's not an Arsenal where you feel you're 100 yards away from the pitch. You're actually right on top of the pitch.
Right.
And so you can imagine...
one time when you were there, not in that particular box, you did try and climb out onto the pitch.
Well, I didn't actually. I tried to... I was just amusing a few fans. You know, it's just a bit of banter.
I just couldn't let that one go, really.
No, I know you couldn't, because you will take any opportunity...
people will remind me of it if I don't say it.
You'll take any opportunity to have a dig at me, because that's basically your mentality. You know, you seek to gloss over your failings by trying to make out that I've got failings.
Not true.
You do not like living in the glow, the afterglow of my bountifulness.
Your bountifulness?
In this studio, and I say that with the greatest of modesty. What I was going to say is, you can imagine the atmosphere at Spurs today. It must have been fantastic.
Well, absolutely, and a number of times we were hearing on TalkSport, you know, how Adebayor complained about the place being too quiet, and there have been times when Spurs fans have not been terribly happy. But what an absolutely incredible result. I don't think anyone would have predicted that result.
No, and it really does turn the Premier League upside down, because I said, didn't I, a month ago or 6 weeks ago, Joe says going to walk away with this title. I think
everyone was saying that.
They're 8 points clear then. Yeah. They're 8 points clear. They're going to walk away with it. But more importantly than that is the Steven Gerrard situation.
Yes, I agree.
It's incredibly important. I'll tell you why, because... everybody, you know, when I first heard the reports coming out saying, he's going to the MLS, he can't decide whether to go to East Coast or West Coast. Yeah. Frankly, Mr Gerrard, Stevie, you've been a brilliant servant to English football. It doesn't matter. Your career's now over.
Yeah.
You're not actually going there to play football. You're going to America as a showbiz star. It's nothing to do with football. I mean, how many clips have we seen of how brilliantly well Thierry Henry did in the MLS?
Hardly any.
How many clips have we seen of Jermaine Defoe in the MLS?
Who?
Jermaine Defoe.
Jermaine Defoe?
Jermaine Defoe?
Yeah. Very few.
And how many did we even see of Beckham?
Yeah, I mean, with
Very
Beckham,
few.
you tended to see the odd free kick and whatever.
That's about it.
And a couple of rows that you had with the fans. But no, you're absolutely
right. But what
right.
I'm saying is, it's career over.
How many scenes have we seen of Frank Lampard playing for New York City FC? None. And how many are you going to see? None, because he's never going.
But he hasn't played for them.
He's never going there, but he went over there to do this huge, big kind of, press conference. Pictures of him standing with the Manhattan skyline in the background. There's a whole load of people, and we're going to talk about this later on with a guest, whole load of people over there very upset with Frank Lampard saying, we don't even want him now. Well, no, it is his fault.
No, it's not.
He's basically thrown a sort of a curveball, to use American parlance.
No, he hasn't.
At Chelsea. He went over to Manchester City. They're now questioning whether he was actually ever under contract.
He didn't have the
City
pick
FC.
of who he could play for. He was told by the people who were putting all the money up and organise the relationship between the two clubs, i.e. the gentleman from the Middle East.
Abu Dhabi, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Abu Dhabi United, who they're called, funnily enough.
That's right, they are. Was told which club they wanted him to play for, and he merely acquiesced.
Yeah, but the Americans feel as if they've been taken for a very long ride.
The Americans have no right whatsoever to start worrying about, being shortchanged in football terms, what they call soccer. They have no right whatsoever.
That's not true.
They've never embraced the game.
I know it's an unfamiliar concept to you, but there is such a thing as honour.
They
and when
have
you say
never embraced the game.
No, when you go... that's rubbish. Absolute cobblers.
No, they haven't. They've never embraced the game.
When you say you're going to go and play for a team, when season tickets... it's a bit like a Premier League team saying, we're going to have so-and-so playing for us next season. Yep. This is why you should buy a season ticket. Yeah. And then the guy doesn't come.
Well, the season doesn't start till March. It's 2 months away.
But he's not going to be there.
Shouldn't have gone around buying season tickets on a half promise. No, the Americans have never really embraced football.
That's not true.
Mike, it's never taken off there.
They had a much better World Cup than we did.
As a national team, sure. But as a day-to-day pastime...
That's not true, no.
Football is...
Do you know how many people the Seattle Sounders get on a regular basis for their home games?
Go on, amaze me.
Tell me how many you think.
I don't care.
65,000.
Really?
More
every
than
week?
Everton. Yeah, every time they play at home. Every time they play at home.
That sounds to me like the sort of attendances they get for women's football in America, which is very popular.
They get those sort of attendances for MLS as well.
Well, I find that very hard to understand, to be honest. But anyway...
Well, you find lots of things very hard to understand.
Yeah, I do, particularly that one. But what I'm saying is... The idea that Steven Gerrard now is saying, right, that's my next career move, it's not a career move, it's retiring from proper football. Because it's not proper football over there.
Well, I mean, they would like it to become proper football.
It's not,
and I agree with you, it's a long way off proper football.
It's miles off.
But it will become proper football.
No, it won't. It won't.
But more importantly, they are now smarting over there. And what they will say to Steven Gerrard is, all right, if you want to come, make sure that you do what you say you're going to do. And you don't come over and then loan yourself back to play for some other Premier League team because you feel like it.
How do you know that Steven Gerrard hasn't been influenced in his decision by the way he's seen it work for Frank Lampard?
Well, he may well have been. And the Americans won't stand for that. That's my point. They will not be happy about that kind of thing.
We don't know that, and we don't know which team he's going to, and in fact, we don't even know it's going to happen yet until we get an announcement from Steven Gerrard tomorrow.
Right.
But, high-placed sources throughout the industry, I'm not claiming that you and I alone have found this out, Mike.
You've been speaking to some of these high-placed sources, no doubt.
I've been speaking to a few high-placed sources, seem to think it's on. And, the Liverpool fans themselves will have mixed feelings about this, because it's actually... made Brendan Rodgers' mind up for him because he couldn't decide what to do with Steven Gerrard.
He didn't want to be the guy to be putting the name in the envelope, as it were.
Yeah, he didn't want to put the name in the envelope. He didn't want to hand out the P45. He didn't want to put the boy on the bench. He didn't want to not include him in a squad for the first time ever after 16 years. He didn't want to humiliate the man who lifted the Champions League trophy for them. He didn't want to do any of that, particularly as Brendan Rodgers has not been accepted yet as a true Coppite or a true member of the Anfield family or clan, like Bill Shankly and, Ronnie Moran and Bob Paisley, absolutely, and Ronnie Yates and
Rafa Benitez
and Rowdy Yates and the Flying Pig, Tommy Lawrence and people like that. Tommy Lawrence was called the Flying Pig.
Talking of pigs, I've got something something here you should know. Martin, the Man United fan, has texted into 81089.
Oh, yes.
He says, dopey Porky Parry's got it wrong already, Mr Graham. Porky said it's the Chinese year of the pig when it's actually the year of the sheep. So much for your Chinese astrology knowledge.
Well, they're very similar.
What, pigs and sheep?
Well, they've got 4 legs, a snout.
A snout?
Furry.
When was the last time you saw a furry sheep with a snout?
Well, you know what I'm talking about, don't you? I mean...
You've got it wrong. Why don't you just admit it?
All right. Take it to its nth degree. If I blindfolded you, gave you a plate of Chinese food made of lamb, or a plate of Chinese food made of pork, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Of course I would.
No, you wouldn't.
Of course I would.
No, you wouldn't.
That's nonsensical.
No,
it's completely different texture. Completely different taste.
No. You don't understand what I'm saying. Chinese food is intricately cooked and often bathed and wrapped in spices and herbs and things that make it taste nice, but you can't always distinguish the meat.
Yeah. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. We've got loads of guests coming up a little bit later on. Mr Motivator is actually going to join us because it is New Year. Lots of people want to try and change the way their lifestyles work, so we might get some advice from him on what we should do. John says this on Twitter, at IROMG. Maybe Parry's family are poorly because they were looking at his self-portrait. And then he adds, well done to Hull yesterday, by the way, because we can't let you off the hook. I thought to myself when Everton lost and played miserably that we were going to have an awful big conversation about Everton. But because of everything else, Steven Gerrard and Chelsea.
That's right.
I said it's probably all going to be overshadowed, but people on Twitter were like, don't let Porky away with it, because Everton are playing absolutely awful, aren't
It's
they?
dreadful.
And I've heard a lot of Everton fans on TalkSport saying, we're not sure what's going on with Martinez, as he turned them into Wigan, what's going on?
It's shocking. We've had 4 consecutive Premier League defeats, and that's the worst run in 11 years.
Yeah.
So it's the worst run in my judgment, probably, of the reign of Mr Kenwright as the chairman. And he will obviously be very worried about it.
He won't be happy, will
despite the fact that he obviously believes in his own judgment and his own ability to choose a manager, Roberto Martinez, whom I still believe in very much indeed, and think we're just going through a rough spell. I mean, let's not forget that in November, December, Southampton lost 4 games on the trot.
Well, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, almost
Newcastle lost 4 games on the trot.
Man United have had a bad spell.
Yeah,
Chelsea appear to be having a bit of a bad spell for them at the moment. Manchester City have had a bad spell. Yeah, that's true, but unfortunately for all of those teams you've mentioned, they're all a lot further up the table than Everton.
Well, they are now, but Newcastle was sinking down to where Everton are now, a few points above, the relegation zone. But, I was listening to Matthew Letizia early on. Everton have got far too many good players to be looking over their shoulder at relegation.
I don't think they're any danger.
No, of course they're not. But you will get a lot of Everton fans, on the what's the word I'm looking for? The edges of the periphery of the support base, who will say, "Oh, we're going to get relegated," because they want it to happen because they don't like Mr Kenwright, because Mr Kenwright won't spend 200 million quid on trying to salvage the situation, because that would put us into bankruptcy and we'd end up like Leeds United.
To be honest, the team and the manager isn't that much different from what happened last year, so it's really just a matter of somehow the motivatory factor being wrong, isn't it?
Do you know what? I never accept the excuse, we've got too many injuries, we've had bad refereeing decisions, but a lot of that has happened to Everton, I'm afraid.
What about Ross Barkley's dive yesterday, by the way? Because a lot of people have asked me to ask you about that.
Well, the Ross Barkley situation is complicated because he's probably Britain's greatest young player.
You think he's better than Harry Kane? I don't think so.
Oh, he is, yeah.
No
he is.
chance.
Oh, yeah, no, of course he is.
Did you see Harry Kane playing at Spurs yesterday?
Yeah, but Harry Kane's a one-trick pony. He can only strike a ball and score. And
that's
Ross
quite a good one trick to have, isn't it?
Ross Barkley
could dive at the same time.
Ross Barkley can dictate a game from midfield and has done many times this season.
He's not doing it at the moment, though, is he?
Well, no, of course he's not doing it at the moment. Of course he's not, you fool.
I don't want you to get all touchy with me about this.
That's pretty obvious. That's pretty obvious. But the point is that it was poor for Everton. Because of the really strange and expanded role that television play in the game these days, Everton don't play their 3rd round FA Cup tie against West Ham till next Tuesday night.
Tuesday, yeah, that's a long way off, isn't it?
Well, why is that? It's a BT televised game, and BT demanded.
But isn't there something? Why aren't they all being played on the weekend?
Well, there's only so much time in each day, isn't it? You can play games, and if you've got 3 on one day and 3 on another...
What, you mean if you're having to televise them all, you mean?
That's what I'm saying, yeah. You've got to get maximum television coverage of the 3rd round of the FA Cup.
That's a problem for me. That is a problem for me.
Well, I'm afraid that is the name of the modern game. That's why clubs now get up to £100 million a year. £100 million a year, Mike, just think of that, eh?
I know.
Going to the clubs, purely on TV rights and that kind of stuff. So
and you won't be going into the FA Cup then, which you quite like. It's one of the
I do, I love the FA Cup,
and you want Everton to go far. You must not be feeling very confident about playing West Ham then.
Well, confidence-wise, we're at a big low, but what I would say is it's a great opportunity, a very, very good opportunity for Everton to regain some confidence. It won't obviously alter opposition in the Premier League. Yeah, well, I don't know what Stam Allardyce's attitude with the FA Cup is. Didn't he have a really bizarre sort of twist last season or the season before when he decided to put weakened teams out?
Nottingham Forest, they got beaten like 6-0 or something,
That's right, yeah, absolutely.
Well, so, it's a very different West Ham this year.
So, I mean, to be perfectly honest, although I'd never look from favours from another manager, if Mr Allardyce wants to take that view this year, I'm very happy with it, because guess who we've got after West Ham?
Who?
Manchester City.
Yes.
At home, and that is, again, it's going to be very, very difficult to win, or to even draw, of course.
Yeah. Well, Frank Lampard will be playing, obviously, so you'll have a very hard time.
And, doom-mongering is something that I frown upon, but that would be 5 consecutive defeats of Manchester City, who are a magnificent football team.
They are.
Overcome us then I think we have a situation where there's got to be a wholesale rethink of the way we approach the second half of the season.
What do you mean by that, exactly, a wholesale rethink?
Excuse me. I mean, the transfer window's open, and therefore...
But they're not going to spend any money in the transfer window.
Well, I don't know. Some wheeling and dealing's got to be done. You don't have to spend money on the transfer windows anymore. You can do great deals like we did last season in terms of bringing players in on loan and that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that's what I'm saying. Something's got to be done.
But
I mean, the idea that Roberto Martinez is, on the edge or that his job's under threat or that he's...
Well, what would have to happen for his job to be under
ridiculous.
threat, then, in your view?
Everton would have to sink into the bottom 3.
Really?
For a period of 2 or 3 weeks.
Really?
Oh, without doubt.
That bad? So you think if they hover somewhere between sort of mid and bottom of the table, that's okay?
Yes, I do, but I'm not saying that because I'm a blind Everton fan. I remember in David Moyes' second season for Everton, he had a really poor season. He had an all right first season when the team wasn't really his.
Yeah.
Second season when he was trying to rebuild it and put it together, it was a shocking season. I remember going down to Southampton where I think we drew 3-3.
Right.
And I saw David Moyes after the game and he said, look, I'm suffering from second seasonitis. It's a well-known phenomenon in football.
Right.
Well, that's what Roberto Martinez is now suffering, second seasonitis with Everton.
Well, let me read you some statistics that I've got here in my
you
hot
can if
little
you
head.
wish. Is this supposed to impress me, is it?
Well, it is supposed to impress you, because it tells you how much research I've done before talking to you about
I've done
Everton.
any research.
Everton are the only Premier League team to lose all 3 of their festive fixtures this year. Right? They've got 1 win in the league in the last 8 games, and that was against QPR at home, who are notoriously bad when they play at other people's grounds. They've lost 4 games in a row, conceding 8 goals and only scoring 2.
And what are you trying to...
And also, how about this one?
Yeah.
Everton now have more red cards than any other team in Premier League history.
Why are you trying to tell me this?
Well, I'm just telling you some of these statistics which make it look as if things are much worse than you're saying they are.
Well, it's not good.
They can't score any goals. They're getting more red cards than anybody else. They can't win any games, and they're conceding an awful lot.
I think the biggest disappointment is that Lukaku is starting on the bench sometimes, so there's not enough confidence within the manager to start his star striker, and that's bad news. That's bad news.
But that's the other reason why he was let go, wasn't he, by Jose Mourinho, because he didn't think he was actually up to snuff to be a proper Premier League striker.
Well, I presume so, but then again, Jose Mourinho lets players go. Everybody says, well, Jose knows best, but you're already questioning whether it was the right decision for Frank Lampard to leave. So,
but I don't know if that was his decision.
You might want to say that Jose doesn't get everything right when it comes in terms of players leaving Chelsea.
It's not that I'm not sure if it was his decision to let Lampard leave. I think it was a financial decision that was made. I'm not saying it was a bad decision to let him leave. I'm saying it was a bad decision to allow him to leave and then get into a position to play for Manchester City, who are, let's face it, Chelsea's biggest rivals.
Yes.
Why are you not paying attention to
I am paying attention.
Already, we're only like half an hour into the show. And already you're starting to drift off.
No, I'm paying attention, but as you just had a producer present me with a Premier League table in order to see graphically where Everton are, I hope you don't mind if I take 30 seconds to look at it. Since you've
why
taken...
you looking at it before the show started? That's what you meant to do.
No. I know exactly where it was, right?
Yeah.
But now it's put in front of me. Yeah. What I have to do now is analyse the survival instincts of Everton compared to Sunderland, Hull, QPR, West Brom, Palace, Burnley and Leicester, who are all below us, OK?
Right.
I tell you what, I saw old... what's Leicester City's manager's name?
What's his name?
Yeah.
Nigel Pearson.
Nigel Pearson. Saw him after the game at Anfield.
Did you?
I've never seen a man who has been so silently angry. Have you?
Well, he does seem like one of those guys that's sort of slightly bubbling under all the time, doesn't he?
Well,
and we did have that incident where he told the fan in no uncertain
that's
terms
right,
to get a life, or words to that effect.
I can't work out Nigel Pearson. A mate of mine downtown, it's a very big mate of his, but Nigel Pearson seems so laid back. He speaks more slowly than any manager I've ever come across. And waits for you to evaluate what he's just said, and then he says something else, and then waits for you to evaluate that. But today, what he was trying to say, but it was in such sort of twisted words, he's trying to say the ref got the penalty decisions wrong. But he didn't say that.
Right.
He said incidents which took place during the game which were negatively,
negatively impacted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, they have
force on the side.
Be very careful. Although everybody more or less agrees that Liverpool shouldn't have got the first penalty.
Yeah, but hang on. But then he said to the interviewer, sort of winked and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you just say you're unhappy with the penalty decision?
Well, because he
Nigel?
can't say that because he's already been punished, hasn't he, for what he said to the fan.
Well,
so he probably wants to stay out of trouble. And it's a bit like when sometimes managers say, well, I don't really want to talk about the referee because all I'm going to do is say something I shouldn't say.
It could be.
And it could be that he's been in media training. There's a thing, actually. You know, some of our former colleagues have gone off to now start, like, media training companies.
Who have?
Well, I'm not going to name names.
Well, who like you?
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
Media training? What's media training?
You don't even know what it is, do you?
Well, I know what it is, but I mean...
when you go to...
I've never needed it, actually, you know what I mean?
No, it's not about you needing it. It's about you teaching other people.
What do you teach them?
Well, you go to a company and you tell them how they should react if, for example, somebody thrusts a microphone into their face, like you're the network rail boss, for example, and somebody says to you, Mr. Network Rail Boss, your trades are in disgrace. Are you taking a bonus? And sometimes you need to be trained in how to respond to that because most people are not used to having a microphone thrust into their face.
Well, they must be stupid then.
Well, no, they're not. They just don't
in a high-profile position like that. When that guy came along and said, "Did you enjoy your Christmas break in your £850,000 house down in Cornwall?" While tens of thousands of passengers were freezing and stood like sardines at Finsbury Park Station.
Sardines don't stand.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. If I'd have been the railway boss, I'd have said, yes, I did enjoy it, thank you. My home in Cornwall is a beautiful home.
Yeah.
It's got an open hearth.
But worse than that, when they said, did you take the tray back? You went, no, I came back in the car.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Because I had dogs and children and all that.
That's right. They said, you don't use the train. And, well, presents and dogs and children and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
so when you have media training...
Well, you can't train people not to be stupid. I mean, that was a crass remark, considering he's in charge of the railway network.
But what you can do, though, is you can train them to avoid the question, like a lot of politicians who basically never answer the question and they go around it and they don't give anything away.
Yeah, well, I know exactly how to do that. If I'm put on the spot by anything, and it has happened sometimes, I don't even listen to the question.
Right.
Well, and this is what politicians...
Should we do a practice run?
Yeah, if you want to.
How old are you?
The point is, I'm wearing so well for my age, and my doctor tells me I've got the heart of a lion.
Have you?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you've got the head of a ram.
No, I haven't got the head of a ram. I've got the head of
or is it a lamb? Or is it a pig? They all look the same. They all taste the same.
Yeah, the sheep. But what I'm saying is, what happens to politicians? You say to a politician...
Have you seen the time, by the way?
Hang on.
You say,
I mean, this guy's not a politician. He's like a Quango boss. That's right. What they are, Network Rail, Quango.
Yeah.
And they say, don't you think you're running this Quango disgracefully? And he says, 97.5% of our trains ran on time last year. I'm very proud of that record. Yeah. That's the way you do it.
That's the way
you don't answer the question.
Well, I'm saying you could make some money doing that. But let's look into the light for a minute.
Mate, that comes to me so naturally.
Yeah, but
I think in lateral, and round corners and in curves and over roofs. I don't answer straight questions.
No, you
not
certainly
me.
don't. No,
not
of course
me.
not. You can't answer
you don't get anything
any
straight out of me.
No, absolutely not. Extra time, we are the two mics, and we've got an awful lot to do. There will be a quiz on 2014 coming up a little bit later on for Porky. We'll be asking him some more direct questions, and Mr Motivator will be joining us to see what... Excuse me, do you mind?
Excuse me, I'm
wrong
sorry.
with you?
Sorry.
Yeah, well, if you've got the lurgy, you shouldn't even be here. Christmas flu. I thought you had a flu jab, by the way.
I did. I had a flu jab in November, which should have stopped me getting the flu, pneumonia, and, all those other associated aggravatory problems, which
respiratory problems.
Give you jip.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on.
Yeah.
We've got a special guest now, Mr Mark Bosnich, former Chelsea player, of course, former Man United player as well. We want to find out from him what on earth went wrong at White Hart Lane for Jose Mourinho. Chelsea now joint top, only technically at the top because of the letter C at the start of their name. Mark, a very good morning to you and a happy new year.
A happy New Year to you too, and to all your listeners as well.
What went wrong? I mean, incredible game, wasn't it? Absolutely extraordinary.
Yeah, fantastic game. It was on very, very early this morning, so I didn't actually get to see the whole lot of it. I watched the Manchester City and the Sunderland game earlier, but look, you get those disparity in results when you're playing so many games in such a short space of time. You see it year in, year out, and players getting tired and so forth. And like I said, that amount of games usually does lead to those types of topsy-turvy results around this time of year. But, the title race, if it wasn't already, which it already was, but is well and truly on now into the new year.
Yeah, Mark, I think the biggest issue here is that Chelsea have blown an 8-point lead over Manchester City. Now, in terms of morale and storing up your energy and your vitality and your enthusiasm for the second half of the season, that puts Manchester City's nose in front, in my view.
Well, I guess you could say that. If I was a Manchester City player, I'd be listening to you and saying, well, that sounds great, but we're the ones who still have to go out and do it. But look, that 8-point lead, even at the time, was still very, very early in the season. Titles aren't won in November. And, of course, Newcastle in that famous year, I think it was February it was, and then I think back in 1995-96 when they had a 12-point lead over Manchester United, they ended up losing it. So it's still a hell of a long way to go. And I think a lot will depend on injuries, suspensions, and, of course, how far both teams progress in the Champions League. That'll be very, very important.
One of the key components as to how it's all going to work out for me, Mark, is Frank Lampard. Yep. Frank Lampard, of course, everyone says, well, if he'd stayed at Chelsea, he wouldn't have necessarily been a regular. But they can't be happy now that he's announced he's going to stay at Manchester City for the rest of the season. He's already got a crucial goal against Sunderland yesterday, which got Manchester City 3 points. He's already got a crucial goal against Chelsea. I mean, this guy could actually scupper Chelsea's ability to win the title, couldn't he?
Well, already you have to say that, the bottom line is sort of, you have to say serves themselves right, really. If they had any inclination that he, that he could come back to haunt them like this and they still let him go, I mean, look, no club likes to be held over the barrel when it comes to negotiations, regardless of who the player is. When he left and he said he was going, obviously part of the Manchester City franchise to New York, there was always a chance that this was going to happen. So there's nothing much they can sort of whine about now other than to just to move on with it and make sure that they do win the title. And him leaving does not come back to haunt them, but it may do. It already has, like I said, to an extent.
Yeah, Bozzy, the latest breaking news here, of course, is that Steven Gerrard may be ready to announce his decision to go to America at the end of this English football season. To me, that's not like a move within football. That's the end of your football career because nobody's gone there. Thierry Henry or Jermaine Defoe or even David Beckham have, recorded a succession of brilliant clips of sensational football in America. Once you go to America, you're forgotten in this country.
Well, I wouldn't say Steven Gerrard will ever be forgotten. He's been absolutely fantastic servant for Liverpool and for England over the years.
And neither was Beckham forgotten either.
I know, but you are right in the sense that, obviously when you come, towards that stage in your career and you go to the up-and-coming leagues like America or even here in Australia, you've got a job to promote those leagues in those countries where soccer's not the number one sport.
Sure.
But I think if Steven Gerrard, he could probably go to another, he could go to another Premier League club. But I don't think he would want to do that to Liverpool. He's been such a great servant for Liverpool. Like he said before, if you open up his veins, they bleed red. So I think this will be, if he does, I mean, I'd love to see him come down here to Australia, but if he does go to America, it will help promote the league, and he could definitely play at the American level for another 2 or 3 years. It will prolong his career.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Because now that Manchester City have used, New York City FC quite cynically, I think, to bring Lampard to their own club, we have, I suppose, the possibility that they could do something similar with the Melbourne franchise that they've got as well, Mark, right?
Yeah, well, they did that already with David Villa. David Villa came down here for the Melbourne franchise, Melbourne City now it's called, for only 4 games on a loan spell. He was actually signed by the New York club, and then he went straight back. But basically, he is owned by the owners of Manchester City.
Right.
So, look, they're not doing nothing wrong. They're sort of like, that's the way it is, and people are going to have to deal with it until there comes a time when the authorities or the powers that be forbid that.
Bozzy, your old club, Manchester United, for the first time today, watching them against Stoke, 1-1 draw, they went one behind. They looked to me like the Manchester United of flowing football. They reminded me of a Sir Alex Ferguson team today for the first time.
Yeah, well, they've been playing well sporadically, and we've seen that since they had that defeat in the Manchester Derby, I think it was 8 or 9 weeks ago, that they have been playing well in patches. And, of course, this is like the only, I think, with the exception of Valencia, it was pretty much the same side for sort of 3 games on the trot. I think that's been the first time that Van Gaal has been able to do that this season.
Yeah. That
type of continuity, it always breeds confidence, and also the combinations and so forth is much, much easier when you start knowing players who you're playing with. As their injury list comes down, as they progress, they'll be absolutely fine. I said to Alan Brazil at the start of the year when I came to see them that they'll get into the top 4, and I've seen nothing to change that. I don't think they'll win the title, but they'll definitely get in the top 4.
Yeah, I think you're right.
To be honest, almost anything's possible at this moment. Mark, listen, thanks very much indeed for taking the time to join us. A very, very happy New Year to you down there in Australia. And I think the authorities are going to have to do something about this Lampard situation, because in the end...
What can they do?
What they can do is say, look, you cannot have a sister football club in another country, which then buys a player and then loans it back to you in the same country from which he came. I think they're going to have to outlaw it.
Well, why do you want it outlawed?
Because the only people that can do it right now are Manchester City. And they've got a team in Australia, they've got a team in New York. Who else has got a team anywhere else in the world? No one.
Yeah, but I mean...
So they've got an unfair advantage, surely.
No, it's not. Manchester United are rich enough to go and buy a team in America.
Yeah, but at the moment they don't do that. And
that's their problem. That's their problem.
Well, it may be their problem, but what I don't want to see...
Do you think Mr Abramovich, I mean, I know his fortune may have, taken a bit of a
few
pounding.
$100 million in the last couple of weeks.
From the oil price surge, dip and all that. But you're telling me he couldn't go and buy a club in America?
But that's my point. If they don't outlaw it, that's exactly what's going to happen. You're going to get teams like Chelsea. Yeah, you will. You'll get teams like Chelsea. No. You'll get Man United. You will get.
You're the sort of guy who wants to ban fishing, aren't you?
No, I don't.
Yes, you are. By the same argument, you want to ban hunting, ban fishing. You're a banner, you are.
No,
you're a banner.
No, you're the one who wants to ban everything.
No.
You were here on Monday night saying you wanted to ban hunting. You wanted to ban all sorts of things about
animals. I didn't say that.
You did.
Please get it right.
Yes, you did.
I said I wanted to ban people blasting birds out of the sky after having to painfully... It's not.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. It's called shooting.
It's called grouse shooting, yeah.
Yeah, grouse shooting.
Right.
You don't get on a horse and chase after grouse.
You can if you want.
No, you can't. If you do, you're an idiot and you're a fool.
Well, having just called me somebody who wants to ban everything, you're the one that wants to ban it,
No, you're the banner.
Do you want to ban grouse shooting?
I would like to see an end to grouse shooting. I'd like to see an end to grouse shooting.
So you'd like to ban it?
I'd like it to be voluntarily eased out of the pursuit nature of the landed gentry.
Okay.
Because only the landed gentry go around blasting grouse out of the sky.
That's not true.
Well, who else does then? Do you do it in your back garden?
I don't.
No, of course you don't.
There's plenty of people.
Foolish
there's plenty of people in the countryside which you know nothing about who go shooting.
Well, you know nothing about the countryside.
I live in it.
You live in a shack in a field somewhere.
I live in a shack
because it was cheaper than living in a house.
Absolute rubbish. How's the old terrace coming along, by the way? The roof terrace. What's the roof terrace? Have they come back in to fix it yet?
No, they're coming on Monday.
Oh, really?
And I'm refusing to let any workmen in my house.
You've told them to come up the outside of it.
I have, yeah.
Have they built the scaffolding yet?
Well, they're doing that on Monday. It's all starting on Monday.
Well, they're going to be there for weeks then.
Well, that's up to them. They're not coming through my house again because they left dirty boot marks on my carpet last time.
Did you manage to get it all out? Or did somebody
else no, it's all gone. It's all been steam cleaned and all that kind of stuff.
Have you told the neighbours there's going to be scaffolding going up outside their windows?
No, I didn't feel it necessary.
Really?
No.
That's nice of you.
I've got a cherry picker as well for the back because that can reach over the...
What do you mean you've got a cherry picker?
Well, I've told them to hire a cherry picker and bring it to the back of the building. So
this is going to cost you a fortune.
It's not costing me anything. It's a job that should have been done properly in the first place. It wasn't. Well, it is costing me a bit, actually.
Yeah,
the cherry picker wasn't involved in the original estimate. But that means if I want to, I can use the cherry picker to get in and out of my own house. What are you laughing at?
What, so you just climb into it and let them raise you up?
Yeah.
Can you imagine giving
it's my cherry picker, I'm paying for it.
The guys who you haven't allowed into your house are not going to be too happy with you, right?
Why?
Because they're not going to be even allowed to come in and have a cup of tea.
No.
So they're not going to be particularly disposed.
I'm not into giving workmen cups of tea. That's rubbish.
Do you really think that if you get into a cherry picker, they won't drop you out of it just
to
be
won't.
Spiteful?
And by the way, I
don't
like workmen asking to use my bathroom. I always say no.
Why?
Well, I don't want people using my bathroom. It's, bathrooms are personal to people and they get cleaned nearly every day.
Well, so have you asked them to bring a portaloo with them then?
No, well, if they want to, they can. My sister had some work done at her house, over a quite long period of time. They had portaloos there. So if they want to, they can. But they've got to arrange themselves properly and learn to control their own instinctive needs, and they shouldn't need my loo.
You're absolutely appalling.
No, I'm not.
I'm
only saying what most people think.
No, you're not.
Do you like strangers using your loo?
Not particularly.
Of course you don't.
No.
Of course you don't. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're bad people, but they're strangers. They have muddy boots and they, mark my carpet, so I can't allow them in the house. Yeah. So I've made every provision for them to get in and out of the roof garden without having to go through the house. I know what you're laughing at.
Absolutely shocking.
No.
I'll tell you what I'm going to ask you coming up next. Another direct question. You'll have to wait and see what it's going to be. Because a lot of people have asked me to ask you this. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics. You can find us at the Two Mics, of course, at Mike Perrier, at IROMG. You've upset a few people in America, by the way, with your comments, because Tom says this. He's tweeted it. He says, I heard Parry's comments about USA fans. Disgraceful and not true. And he's in Syracuse in New York.
Syracuse, the racetracks there. I've been to it.
Syracuse, yeah.
Syracuse.
Not Syracuse.
Syracuse, wasn't Syracuse the track mentioned in the Carly Simon song? You went to Syracuse and your horse naturally won?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and then you took your friends to the North Pole to see...
Nova Scotia.
To Nova Scotia.
The total eclipse of the sun.
That's it, yeah. How about that?
Maybe.
See, I remembered. How about that? You see, you can't remember a damn thing from your past.
Well,
I
just
remember
remembered
everything.
the line that you couldn't remember. Nick in Devon says, Mr Parry talks so much nonsense, you should become a politician and join the Welsh Assembly.
Oh, really?
And how about
the
this
Welsh Assembly? What, like free money? And if I joined the Welsh Assembly, I'd now be in charge, apparently, according to reports I've read, of the most inefficient health service in the world.
That's true.
Apparently, if you're in Wales and you get ill, the first thing you do is beg your relatives to drive you across the border to somewhere in England because the health service is so badly run now in Wales. That's not me saying that. These are reports I've read in research documents prepared by professionals.
By professionals, the ones that only you read. John has tweeted this. He says, never mind Harry Kane. Michael Caine's better than Ross Barkley. Parry's talking more nonsense than ever tonight.
No, that's that's a nice little play on words. I don't mind that.
Good.
We all like that.
That's very good.
That's okay.
Now, let me get to the heart of the matter, because it would seem to me that we've developed a bit of a theme here tonight of you not answering a straight question. But listen to this one from Freddie, who says, any further news on exercise bike gate? No doubt more excuses for Porky not to fulfil his fitness promises. Mm-hmm. What's the latest on the exercise bike gate? For those who perhaps weren't aware of your Christmas present, your family bought you an exercise bike. When we were on the show on Monday night, you were kind enough to explain which kind of exercise bike it was. We put a picture out on Twitter, and it does look like something like a mobility scooter without wheels on it, really.
It looks like a motorbike without wheels, actually. And it's that big as well. So I've got to find a space.
So the latest thing was that we saw the paperwork that said they had to bring it in, they had to deliver it. Presumably you wouldn't want them in the house either then?
No, I don't want them in the house.
So what's happening? Because they were supposed to be delivering it this week, weren't they?
No, that would be next week, because I think the actual people who deliver are off, on the Christmas break and New Year break and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's something that's got to be now, it's got to go into negotiation, to find out what we're going to do.
What do you mean?
Well...
So it's still not there, in other words? It's still not in the house?
Well, not physically.
Not physically. So it's not there?
Well, not physically.
Well, is it there in some other form?
No, it doesn't have a physical presence, but it has a will to be there. If you see what I mean.
Will?
Yeah.
So the exercise bike has a will of its own?
No, it doesn't have a will of its own. What I mean is, I have a will to have it there. Do you see what I mean?
Right.
But it ain't physically there, because I'm going to have to rearrange the couch. Also, it needs rubber mats under it, because apparently bits of grease and oil fall off it because it's so big and all that kind of stuff.
Do you not also have to kind of staple it to the ground?
You have to...
Or nail it into the floor or something?
You don't nail it to the floor, but you have to balance it up, by turning screws up and down on each side of it.
It's a very unsuitable present, to be honest.
Well,
it's very thoughtless in many ways.
I can't let you say that, because it came from my family, for my... it's my big present, isn't it? And I said that I was going to use it extensively. Yeah. And therefore they did their very best to try and make sure it was a great present.
Right.
And,
so when's the apparent date of this?
Well, that's all up to negotiation.
Coming in.
That's up to negotiation.
Because they might say when they see all the scaffolding around your building that actually it's not suitable for delivery purposes, and they might be able to bring it in.
Why?
Well, because there might be reduced access to the property. I mean, I was the one that read all those bits of rules that they've got.
No, that's rubbish. They're not going to bring it up the scaffolding. They'd bring it up the...
Oh, they want to bring it up in the lift,
and then the stairs.
But then there's stairs, and they may not be able to get it up there. Maybe put it in a cherry picker.
Yeah, well, actually, that's not a bad idea, because it's very heavy.
Bantam Bouncer has tweeted and says, tell Porky you'll need a licence to operate the cherry picker.
No, I'm not going to operate it. It comes with a driver. Yeah. It comes with a driver. And do you know how they bring it? It's absolutely...
But then they drive it there.
No, it's amazing. What happens is this low loader turns up, right, and it's usually got a JCB digger, a JCB dumper truck, and at the back it's got a cherry picker.
Sounds like Bob the Builder.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it is. It's like watching Bob the Builder. So and it comes up your road, and it's the biggest lorry you've ever seen in your life. I mean, it's a...
So they've delivered this cherry picker already, have they?
It's come, yeah. So you got a big cab, right, and then you got like a platform being dragged behind this cab. It's got 3 machines on it. So the guy who's driving the lorry, who must be, a very well-qualified heavy goods driver, because it's the biggest lorry I've ever seen. Right. And how on earth he got it into the road, because it's pivoted behind the cab. What's that called? A Plantechnicon?
Pantechnicon.
Yeah, Pantechnicon.
So.
Pantechnicon, yeah.
Haven't you also got all those traffic calming measures in your road, which makes the traffic go like zigzagging?
Honestly, it's. I don't know how he got it into the road. And by the way, after, got the cherry picker off, he disappeared up the road and then came back. How he turned it round, I've no idea.
So was he on his own then?
He's on his own.
You would think health and safety would say you'd have to have a co-driver, wouldn't you?
Well. What I'm telling you is, he gets out the cab, so he comes to the back and he presses a few buttons, and then the flaps, which are literally vertical, come down automatically, and they then form a ramp.
A ramp, yeah.
He then literally jumps into the cherry picker, which is facing his cab, and starts it up, and I think, what's going to happen next? And then, boom, he puts it into reverse, woo, he's back down the ramp in reverse.
Exciting,
on the cherry picker, which is bouncing around, because he's actually... You don't sit in a cherry picker.
He switched off the engine of the lorry at this point?
Yeah, of course he has, yeah. Right. But you don't sit in a cab of a cherry picker. It hasn't got one. You're in the basket. So he's driving it backwards.
No, he's not.
He is, underscore.
No way.
He is.
They have got a thing.
They haven't got a cab. A cherry picker doesn't have a cab.
Really?
A cherry picker does not have a cab. What a cherry picker has is a basket, and that's the only place...
And an arm, so it makes you go up and down.
Yeah, but I'm saying the only place you can operate the hydraulic arm and the movement backwards and forwards of the... I'm certain. And I've seen cherry pickers being driven around by a bloke when he's 30 feet up.
Right.
And that's... like you see these freak guys on one-cycle bikes, monobikes.
Yeah.
Are they called uni bikes?
Unicycles.
Unicycles, that's it.
Unicycles.
Well, they look like that when they stretch it right up and start messing around with the roof, because they move it along from the top. There is no cab on a cherry picker. Are there any cherry picker drivers out there? Please confirm what I'm telling you.
Why are you shouting, by the way? You're so excited by this story, aren't you?
A mobile cherry picker.
Like a kid with a new toy.
No, a mobile cherry picker.
Why don't you drive it into work one night? That'd be great. You just arrive at work in a cherry picker. You can come up the outside of the building.
You could do it. You could do it. But I haven't got a licence. Excuse me. That's right. Okay. I'm struggling to drive a cherry picker. Simple as that.
No. Bantam Bouncer's added one. He says, Porky's hoping his exercise bike is getting delivered by City Link. That's a terrible story,
that is a shocking story. Is it 2,700 people out of work?
That
is no joke, man. That is absolutely no joke.
Not at this time of year.
It's awful.
So, so where is all this equipment going? So, you haven't told first of all, you haven't told your fellow kind of, apartment dwellers that there's going to be, a massive great lorry coming that's going to put a cherry picker off to the side.
No, we've done that.
But where is it, though? Is it sitting in, like, in the front sort of forecourt?
It's parked in the car park at the back.
So, it must be taking up some room, though.
Well, it takes up one space, that's all. It's not a huge land-based vehicle or anything like that. It's not like a tank or anything.
It's quite big.
Yeah, it's quite big. Takes up one space, that's all.
And at some point later on in the week, you're going to have a big scaffolding lorry come, which is going to mean that there's going to be loads of guys...
Well, that only parks in the road and they offload the scaffold and then the lorry goes away. It doesn't sit there while I do the job.
But, if I was living there, I'd want to know, how much more of this rubbish is going to be going on. How much longer is it going to go on for?
You don't understand, Mike, anything about property, do you?
I understand an awful lot about property.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
To keep up the value of all the flats in the block, we're all leaseholders, but I've bought a portion of the freehold, right?
Oh, have you? Of course.
Yes. You've got to...
Is that to make you feel better than everybody else?
It's in terms of my long-term security.
But it's a snob value as well, right?
No, it's having control over the block, actually. That's what it's about. And what you've got to do is you've got to make sure that every property is up to scratch, right? So, for instance, if I see a property that's got a bit of a dodgy window frame, or if I see a bit of carpet in the corridor, which I don't like, I have something done about it.
Do you?
Yes.
Well, what do you do about it?
Well, I get it removed and replaced and then bill it to somebody.
Well, really?
Yeah.
That's appalling.
No, it's
you
not.
must be like the worst neighbour of all time.
No, I'm not. I've got very high standards when it comes to property, and I won't have property traduced by people who don't treat it properly.
Traduced?
Yeah, one chap tried to actually smoke in one of the corridors.
Yeah.
Bit of ash fell off his cigarette, and I saw him grind it into the carpet.
Oh, yeah.
I had it removed. I had the carpet removed, and I made sure...
Who else owns the freehold then? You can't own all of it.
No, the landlords of the property own it. They might be based anywhere. I don't know where they're based. I don't have anything to do with them. I don't need to, because I do all my negotiations with them through property lawyers who look after my mortgages and things. Right? It's easy, Mike, when you know how.
Yes, well, so you say. We've got lots more to do coming up in the next hour. Let me read you this. Robert from Belfast has texted into 81089.
Oh, yeah.
He says, it's happened for years that players have got loaned from American teams after the MLS season has finished.
That's
Ask
right.
Porky about Landon Donovan. Players hold all the cards in regards to transfers from the Bosman ruling.
Beckham went on loan to AC Milan,
Well,
didn't
no,
he?
I know that, yeah, but that was before this situation occurred.
No, it was the same situation.
No, it wasn't. It was whenever the MLS season had stopped. It was when Thierry Henry came back from Arsenal. Tim Cahill came back and played for Everton. None of that happened.
Not Cahill, he didn't.
Didn't he?
No, Landon Donovan was the
but
man.
I thought Cahill came back to play for Everton at one point as well. You sure?
Absolutely certain.
Really?
I mean, Tim Cahill went off and we all loved him and all that, but
I thought he came back at one point.
No, he didn't.
Oh, maybe I've got that wrong.
No, he didn't.
Anyway, but all of that happened at the end of the season, right?
Yeah.
And it was a sort of a stopgap measure for either Arsenal or for Everton to have some advantage from that, which is fine. This is a very different situation. This is Frank Lampard going to America, making a big deal out of the fact that he's going to be the star player of the season, not just for the New York club, but for the whole league. He's going to be the new David Beckham, right?
Yeah.
Having promised to do that, having done a load of press conferences and had his name and his face pasted all over Times Square, and being the guy that's selling the whole concept of this new team, he's now not going, and I think that's letting an awful lot of people down.
He's smarter than the average bear. You see, what I thought was actually pathetic, right, utterly pathetic, was when a player goes to the MLS, but then decides in the closed season he'll come back in the team and let him go. And when Thierry Henry did that, the sense of anticipation was enormous. But it lasted about 2 games, didn't it? It was about 2 games, something like that.
Something like that.
And Piers Morgan, our old mate, got so excited on Twitter, I couldn't believe it.
And he scored a goal in a cup, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. And I can't believe it, the Messiah is back and all that. Don't you realise the reason he went in the first place is because he had stopped being the player of your dreams and become somebody else. So to welcome them back with open arms like that and say, he's back, is going backwards, not forwards.
Yeah. Well,
so what I'm saying is...
He did give the dressing room a bit of a boost, I think, at the time.
Well, I'm not sure he did, because that means you're putting some other players' face out of joint.
All right, well, let's go around the other way. What's actually happening at Manchester City is that Frank Lampard and all of his experience in the Champions League and winning titles in the Premier League, Manchester City are getting all the benefit of that.
Yeah, but at the same time, Mike, sorry, I'm not at the same time. What I meant to say was, yes, but whose fault is it? And it is the fault of the people who should have known the rules better at Chelsea.
I think that's true. I don't disagree with that.
It's their fault.
I think Chelsea, I said this last night, I think they've made a massive blunder.
Oh, massive blunder.
But equally, they didn't see this coming. They didn't know that this might happen, and I think it's
they should have found out.
Well, yeah, but it's the first time...
They honestly should have found out.
But it's the first time it's been done, so I think it's getting Lampard in through the back door.
And Mr Pellegrini, Manchester City have been cleverer than not Mr Mourinho, but cleverer than the people at Chelsea who set the deal up.
They certainly have.
And if it's emerged, as you quite rightly say, a new development in the rules governing players going to the MLS and loaning them back, they should have been aware of that. They've got endless teams of lawyers, Chelsea. They really have, honestly.
Well, they should replace them.
For all sorts of deals that they do around the world and all that kind of stuff. They should have spotted it.
Yeah.
Because you're right, it is a terrible position for Jose Mourinho to be in, because you want him to come forward and say, I made a mistake because Lampard is gathering up points for Manchester City. He's never going to say that.
He isn't going to say that.
But somebody put him in the position where he must surely be very embarrassed about it.
I think he absolutely is, and it didn't help that that actually they lost to Spurs yesterday. We'll be talking some more about that coming up in the next hour. Also, we will be talking to Mr Motivator, who's going to join us live from Jamaica. You might remember Mr Motivator. He used to be on GMTV many years ago. He's the guy who gets everybody fit and healthy for the new year. Ringing any bells with you? You know this song?
Yeah, I reckon that's the theme music for the very famous, legendary Mr Motivator. Yeah?
No.
What do you mean?
Well, no, you're supposed to identify who's singing it.
Yeah, it was the girl who was in the John Travolta film.
Yeah.
Physical, I want to get physical.
That's it.
Physical, and her name was...
What's her name?
She had a double mastectomy, unfortunately, the poor girl, because she thought she had cancer. No, seriously. No, it's true.
I'm sure it is true. What's her name?
And she was in Greece with John Travolta.
Yeah, true.
And her name was... And she played Sandy in Greece.
Yeah.
And her name... And she's Australian. She's Australian.
Yeah, go on.
And she looked great in those tight black trousers in Greece.
I'll have to hurry you.
I can't remember her
Mr.
name.
Motivator's waiting for the...
I can't remember her name.
Well, we asked Mr. Motivator, perhaps he'll know. Mr. Motivator, a very happy new year and welcome to the show.
And Happy New Year to you guys. I can't believe you can't remember who that person is.
I know.
John.
Shocking, isn't it?
That's right, Olivia Newton-John. I knew it. I knew it from the start, but it just escaped me. Yeah,
unbelievable.
That's okay.
Well, I mean, Mr. Motivator, it's great that you can join us, and I mean, that sort of brings back an awful lot of memories for those of us who remember when that song first came out. You're over in Jamaica. It must be a nice time of the year to be there.
Oh, it's so cold. It's about 70 degrees, and it's 9:15 in the evening. Oh, man, I'm going to have to put a jumper on. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Stop it. Stop it. It's disgraceful. Now, Mr. Parry here is sitting here with me. He's got his family decided that he was looking so rough over the course of Christmas that they were going to buy him an exercise bike to try and get him back to full fitness. But he's having trouble actually getting it installed in his house. So I think he's trying to put off getting it. Can you convince him that he should get it put in?
But you know something? An exercise bike is probably the worst thing to ever buy.
Is it?
Really? Why?
But well, because, 9/10 of those things, after you've had them about 2 weeks, they become a coat hanger. People don't use them because, to be honest, it doesn't really give you an all-round workout. All it does is work your legs. You may get a bit of lungs, but most people don't really use them.
Yeah, but...
if you've already bought it, fine, but I would actually put it up for sale and get yourself a cross trainer, really.
Yeah, but Moti, what I really need is...
Moti?
Mr. Motivator.
Moti?
Where'd
you get that from?
Well, because I want to be friendly with the guy.
Moti.
Yeah,
it's not like Moti.
Moti is that what I need is a thoracic workout. I've only 1/3 of my heart works.
Thoracic Park. Yeah. We've done that one before, haven't we?
It's a very dicky ticker I've got, and I have to get it checked out every 6 months. Got one coming up soon. So I need a thoracic workout. I need something to make the lungs work, to therefore exercise the heart. So I thought the best thing was to do a lot of pedalling on a stationary bike. Pedalling hard, going nowhere.
A bit like your career.
Yeah, but the thing is, it just sounds so boring. It sounds like hard work.
No, I'm going to put a television on the wall. No, I'll put
but then you'll be concentrating on the television.
Yeah, but
you
I'll
won't
still
be doing anything. You're going to give up.
No, I'll still be pedalling. I mean, when you say get yourself a private, a private trainer, that's all very well, but the guy's got to come to the house, disrupt your day. It's got to be at the time that you agree with him. Whereas when you got the bike, you just jump on the bike, pedal for about 3 miles, jump off again.
Well, he said a cross trainer. He didn't say a private trainer.
I thought he said a private trainer.
Listen, I never mentioned a personal trainer. I mentioned a cross trainer. A cross trainer.
He doesn't know what that is.
That can move your arms and legs and get your heart going and everything else. I just think bikes are passé. They're old and, they're not fun to do. Listen, you never see a happy jogger. That's the first thing when you're looking out there.
Right.
They're never happy.
Right.
The same thing with someone on a bike. They never look happy unless they're out on the street riding around. And I think if you're going to get a bike, that's what you should have done. You should have gone outside and did it and stop being so lazy.
Well, he does. I mean, he does do a lot of walking. In fairness,
I do 20 or 30 miles a week, which is pretty good, isn't it?
He doesn't sound
No,
impressed.
it's not bad going, but you're obviously not walking. Listen, I've seen pictures of you, and you've definitely got a body for radio.
Oh, well, I've definitely got a body for radio. That's right, because you just sit in a seat all day. And in fact, if you were here now, Mr. Motivator, you could work out...
What happened to Moti? What happened to Moti?
Yeah, Moti, yeah. You could work out the mass body index of the two of us by looking at the size of the seats we sit in, because, believe it or not, my colleague, Mike Graham, has a seat 3 times, 3 grades bigger than my seat, because he's got a very fat posterior.
Well, you painted a pretty horrible picture there. But never mind, I'm going to be in the UK from about the 60s onwards. Oh. Maybe I should come to the studio and sort you guys out.
Right, excellent idea.
I think it's a better idea if we come to Jamaica, actually. That sounds like a much better idea. Last time I was in Jamaica, I was staying in some beach club or other, and I didn't mind doing a bit of exercise in the swimming pool, as long as it was swimming to the bar.
The only thing about it is the description you've given of those backsides, you're probably going to need about 4 seats between you.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
Last time I stayed in Barbados, Moti, I was staying at the...
He's in Jamaica.
Oh, in Jamaica, yeah. I thought you said Barbados.
No, I said Jamaica.
No, sorry, Jamaica. Yeah, Jamaica, good place. Never been there, but I'm sure it's a good place. Yeah. Montego Bay.
Yeah, it is. I've been here for about 12 years.
Oh, have you? Really? That's great,
and, I travel into the UK. But you know what? I think what's important is this, right? If you're having fun doing whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So if you feel like you'll have a lot of fun doing the bike, fine. Who am I to talk it down? If you feel like you'll really get on it and do it for about 20 minutes, that's good. But if you're not going to do it and consistently do it, it's going to be a waste of time and money. And you don't need a personal trainer. You don't need a bike to get fit. You just need to have the right attitude.
Right. Okay. We'll take your word for it. And I will use that as a positive form of thinking. Thank you very much indeed.
Mr. Motivator, thank you very much indeed. Moti. Why would you call him Moti?
Well, because it's a short. I mean, people don't call me Michael; they call me Mikey.
I bet your mother calls you. Nobody calls you Mikey. I've never heard that.
My sister calls me Mikey.
Does she?
Yeah, it's an affectionate term since we were kids.
Really?
By the way, over Christmas, right? You know, and Christmas coincides with my birthday, and
it was your birthday recently.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Was it?
And,
how old were you?
Well, over 50.
Over 50.
And
There's that straight answer again.
My mother found a picture of me and my two sisters when we were all 4 years of age.
What, something that you hadn't managed to burn then?
Well, I didn't even know it existed.
Right.
And we were on a little beach near the harbour in Douglas, Isle of Man. How about that?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
I'd like to see that picture. Can you bring it in?
No, I can't bring it in. I haven't got it. I left it down in Bournemouth, where I spent the
How
Christmas
did this
period.
slip through the burning mechanism?
Well, I don't know. I thought my mother's got rid of them all.
Maybe she's got more pictures then that you don't know anything about.
She may have, but I mean, I don't know anything about him. But good old Moti there. I mean, he's put us on the straight and narrow. We know exactly what we're doing.
He's basically said that it's a waste of time getting an exercise bike because in the end, it's not really that good for you. How about this from Den?
I need concentrated thoracic.
And well, you said all that.
Energy.
Well, you said all that.
Yeah.
Den from Wallington says, I'm staggered at Porky's lack of hospitality, refusing to provide a cup of tea for his workers. Porky has forgotten his working class roots and cares more for his ducks, brackets, evidence pending. Because, of course, in fact, the last time you were here, you were going to tell us about how you were going to go down to the ponds and chuck a load of bricks in to break the ice. How did that work?
Well, I didn't use bricks in the end because I thought that could be a little extreme, and where will the bricks end up if it doesn't break the ice? So I used a branch. I broke a branch off a tree on the edge of the pond, and I started smashing the ice up with the branch. It was very successful, actually. And
but that's not so easy to
around.
do. So were you actually like poking the ice with a stick?
Yes, absolutely.
That sounds quite dangerous.
No, it wasn't. No, it was quite a big branch, and I was swinging it.
But was that not? Did you not
like a golf club? You know.
But you then killed the branch, which is part of nature.
Well, the branch certainly was detached from the tree, so it won't be growing anymore on the tree. That's for sure. Right. But having said that, on that particular day, there'd been a bit of wind about, and there was a lot of branches lying around. There just wasn't one big enough for the purpose for which I needed it.
Yes, okay.
Simple as that.
But people are still asking for pictures of all of this stuff.
Well, I don't know why, because there's a video on my YouTube frame, whatever you call it.
Yeah, no, I know, but that's from ages ago.
That shows me
that's from
feed
ages
the ducks.
ago.
Yeah, but I mean, it's exactly the same thing I did then as I do now.
By the way, I was listening to I think it was our Christmas Eve podcast over the course of the New Year period.
I quite enjoyed that.
It was very good. It was a very good show.
Done.
However, you sang your so-called favourite song for Christmas, which was good. God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. And I said to you, who wrote it? And you said Elgar wrote it. It's not true. I looked it up. And apparently, no, they don't actually know who wrote it. It's a traditional song, but they don't know who wrote it. It wasn't written by Elgar.
Well, my information tells me it was Elgar.
Well, it's not written by Elgar.
Well, you tell me who did write it then.
Well, they don't know. That's my point.
No, you don't know. No, you don't know.
Nobody knows.
And why are you going around trying to check out the facts all the time to try and trip me up?
Because it's just
absolutely typical of your approach.
Well, it just struck me.
You know, to the unison that we have in this broadcasting situation.
No, it just struck me.
You can't stand me to reveal something to the audience which is, revelatory, which is enlightening, which changes people's lives, makes them feel better. You don't like it.
No, all I normally do is when you say something I didn't know, because I didn't know who wrote it, so I thought I'd be interested to know if you were right or not.
And you still don't know who wrote it, but I do.
No, because it wasn't Elgar.
I've done loads of research from that era, from that period about
what period?
Who wrote songs. From the Elgar period.
Really?
Yeah.
What period is that?
Well, that's like saying, from the Henry VIII period. What period?
What year was it, for example? What years did Elgar live?
I am not going to answer dumb questions like that.
Right, okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
How about this one from Christopher, who has tweeted at the two mics? He said, I love how Porky calls MG a toff and then a peasant within the space of 5 minutes.
Well, that's true.
Well, I can't be both, can I?
Well, you're a peasant who's trying to be a toff.
Oh, is that right?
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
You're a very worst sort of person, you are. You come from working class roots and all that. Claim that your father
I don't come from working class roots.
Claim that your father was some sort of...
I've always claimed to be middle class, that's all I am.
Your father was some sort of, what is it? What you doing in my street, Jimmy? Type of Scotsman, and yet, you want to try and be from the hoi polloi and Hampstead, London.
That's where I'm from. I'm not trying to be from anywhere.
Rubbish.
That's where I'm from.
Load of rubbish.
You're the one who's betrayed your working class roots.
Sorry?
You're the one who's betrayed your working class roots.
I've never betrayed my working class roots.
You're a complete snob.
No, I'm not a snob
Really?
at all.
You deny that?
If I have sought to better myself in life, would you say that Lord Sugar was a snob?
No, he's not a snob.
He's a Labour peer.
Yeah,
so
but
he's got working class roots.
He doesn't
but
ban
he sits
people.
in the House of Lords on the Labour benches.
But he doesn't. But that doesn't make him a snob. What makes you a snob is that you refuse to allow any workmen to come into your house. You refuse to allow any workmen to use your toilet. You refuse to sit in second-class railway compartments because you don't want to mix with the hoi polloi. That's what makes you a snob.
I think anybody who allows workmen in their house is mad. I mean, you should do it another way around. Make them put those white suits on. You know that the crime scene detectives. Honestly,
forensic suits. You should buy a few for them. You can have them hanging up.
You're absolutely right. You should be able to buy those in places like Wilkinson's. Is it?
Where
is that a high street?
Wilkinson's.
Yeah.
No, never heard of it.
It is. I'm sure.
Really?
Or pound stores. Buy them in the pound store.
Poundland.
You only use them once.
Get a Poundland disposable white suit. Sounds great.
And they
You've seen the time, by the way.
Hang on. And they come with big, fluffy, blue plastic shoes to stop mud getting onto the carpet. So we should all have access to them, in my view.
Excellent stuff. Mike Porky Parry is here. I'm Mike Graham. We are the two Mikes. We've got lots more to do. It's all coming up on Talk Sport. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. You can reach us on Twitter at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry and at IROMG. You can call us, of course, as well. 08717 223344. Got a few corrections to make already.
A few corrections?
After the first hour. Howard
me.
in Swansea has texted into 81089. He says, "Hi Mike, can you please put Mr Parry right about Carly Simon's You're So Vain? It was Saratoga, not Syracuse," which is true, actually.
Yes,
that
it was
true.
Saratoga. It's not far away, though.
Parry is right about the cherry picker, says John.
Thank you.
The only place for the driver to control it is in a large basket at the back.
That's right, absolutely.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
James, however, says...
So that's a correction, is it?
No, that's...
You said there were a few corrections.
Well, you
so
actually,
as usual, blackening my name.
Well, you actually said that it was driven from the top, from the cherry picker itself.
If you raise the
basket
up...
He's saying a basket at the back, which is not the same.
The basket starts at the back, but once you operate the levers and all that, you go upwards and you go right over the top of the main body of the vehicle.
Well, I'm not sure you've got that right.
Well, I have got it right.
Well, I'm calling that a correction. James says, please tell Fatty, which is not a very nice thing to say.
It's not.
As he's a freeholder,
Fatism.
as he's a freeholder, any work carried out over £250, it's law that he has to discuss it with other leaseholders.
Mm-hmm. So I discuss everything with my neighbours.
You just said you didn't discuss anything.
I do. Through a works council type thing we have.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, no problem.
And here's one from William, who says, maybe Porky's friends at British Naval Intelligence could arrange a helicopter to land Porky's cycle on the roof garden.
Yeah, well, that's meant to be a joke, but funny enough, I was contacted when I mentioned to you I have friends down in the Portsmouth area who are members of, can't say too much, Royal Navy Intelligence. I did, in fact, get contacted by a gentleman down there who was a retired member of...
you told us this already.
Naval Intelligence.
You told us this
I'm telling you again because...
Why?
Well, just
Why
to
telling us again?
Emphasise to you that I'm well aware of my responsibilities as I have access to people who have access to some very sensitive information.
Yes, I see. And here's another one on the cherry picker front. Scott says, it's Michael actually. Yes, a cherry picker is controlled from the basket. I used to work in one in Kensington and Chelsea. Very nice too.
Yeah, Chelsea and Chelsea.
Yeah,
now then, listen, before we go any further,
yes.
ask me more stupid questions.
Right.
What coat have you got on tonight?
What coat?
Yes.
I'm not wearing a coat. I'm wearing a shirt.
You're not wearing a coat in here, you fool.
No, well, why would I wear a coat in here?
Well, to travel from your home to here, you'd wear a coat.
Well, I would normally wear a jacket, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you wearing tonight?
Well, tonight I'm wearing a suit, and on the top of my suit I was wearing my Barber jacket, which I bought, as you well know, a few months ago. Are you going to do that all the way through the show?
I do apologise to all listeners.
Can we not give you some Lemsip or something?
It's some deadly lurgy, but I'm gritting my teeth. We're getting on with it.
Yeah, I'm going to get ill again, thanks to you.
No, you're not. You won't get ill. No, you won't. I'm sitting on the other side of the studio. Now, listen, I want to put this to you. You are responsible as a toff.
I'm not a toff. I'm very far from a toff. I'm a very
for massive disruption.
You're the snob that's sitting in this
massive disruption
studio.
To the workforce at the barber factory in Gateshead.
Gateshead.
Who's Gateshead's most famous resident?
Gateshead. Wasn't it Gaza?
Yes, exactly. Paul Gascoigne, who, by the way...
I don't know if he lives there anymore, though, is he?
No, he doesn't. He lives
so
down
he's not their most famous resident, then?
Well, he's the most famous son of.
Yeah.
Most famous
I'll
son
accept
of.
that.
What was the name? Dunstan Working Men's Club. That's where his dad goes drinking.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And by the way, there's a story in one of the papers tonight saying that Gaza is eyeing a move to Newcastle to work with Peter Beardsley on the youth training scheme.
Oh, that'd be good for him.
I don't know whether that's true or not, but it's speculation. Yeah. Anyway, getting back to the Barber, right? Now, their factory's in Gateshead. People like you
I didn't know where their factory was, actually.
You didn't know that they were a famous North East company?
No, I didn't know that, no.
You know nothing.
Well, why would I need to know that?
Don't you take any interest in the culture of your country?
Well, why would I need to know that? I bought a jacket.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know the history of where the thing was made.
You didn't want to know the history of the thing you're
Not
wearing?
particularly, no.
I do.
Why?
I do.
You haven't got one?
Of course I haven't got one, but years ago, my dad bought a Gannix raincoat. Do you remember?
Did he? I do remember
that. Was about 40 years ago.
That was the scandal with Harold Wilson's government,
Harold Wilson, Lord Kagan.
Yeah, that's
Lord
right.
Lord Kagan ran Gannix, and there was some, slush fund scandal or something
like that,
in politics or whatever, lavender file and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And
so your dad had one of those coats, not you?
No, my dad had one. Of course I didn't have one. I was about 8.
All right.
And he had one. And
I could just see you as an 8-year-old wearing one of those raincoats.
No. You fool.
Because you're like one of those little Lord Fauntleroy. You would have been dressed like that, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't. No, it's a stupid image to put in the minds of our...
Did you ever have a duffle coat? I bet you had a duffel coat.
I don't think I did have a duffel coat.
You sure?
I think my sister had a duffel coat.
Did she?
But I never had one because we used to have snow where I grew up in the north of England, and the snow used to sit very heavily on duffel coats and make them even heavier. They were very, very heavy coats, you know?
Well, they were very warm as well.
And I don't think my mum would have them in
one?
the house. No, I never had one.
I could see you in a duffel coat and Wellington boots.
Let's get
holding
back
a jar of marmalade. See where I'm going with that?
Yeah, that's very funny, that, yeah. Reminds you of a film that's just come out. Now then, let me talk about Barber, right?
Yeah, what are you going on about Barbers
Well,
for?
because I'm telling you of the pain you've caused.
Surely you should say to me, isn't it great that I've bought a coat made in Britain as opposed to buying the rubbish that you buy, which is always made overseas, probably in China?
That's utter nonsense.
Really?
All my clothes are...
I see you've started wearing Ralph Lauren shirts now, just because I do.
No.
There you are. You're wearing a Ralph Lauren shirt.
Yeah, but I've got a collection of at least half a dozen Ralph Lauren shirts.
Have you?
It's nothing new.
Really? Are they all the same colour?
No.
You said all your shirts were blue.
Well, they're blue, light blue, royal blue, dark
They're all blue then?
Yeah, they're blue, yeah. Right, now then, what happens at Barber is there's such a demand now that the staff... not the staff, the workforce, have been told they're going to have to work till 11 o'clock at night.
Well, what's wrong with
that?
that?
To satisfy worldwide demand.
You'd be happy with that, wouldn't you? So it's a successful company, which I'm supporting.
They say it's very antisocial in that part of the world. You know, people have great familial ties.
Well, if they don't want to work overtime, why don't they just hire some other people to do the job?
Well, that's a terrible thing to say. So their union,
why is it?
Unite, has got involved.
Hello. Oh, so now you're a unionist. Now you support trade unions.
No, what I'm saying is...
You've never supported a trade union in your life.
What I'm saying... I was in the NUJ.
Yeah, but you've never supported... Yeah, but you told me when you went to work in Belfast that you actually went against the union's advice, which was when you were not working, supposedly, on this ridiculous 3-day week that you were on.
Oh, I did.
That you would work more days than everybody else.
Oh, I did. When I...
So you were not in any way a supporter of the union.
Excuse me.
You were quite the opposite.
When I worked for the Evening Chronicle in Newcastle, on about day 4 there, and this was my big step up in life from a weekly newspaper in Chester... we went on strike. So
was that the famous strike of whenever it was, all the local papers went on strike? I remember that strike. It was like in the sort of late 70s.
No. Actually, I remember that one, but I was in Birmingham by then.
Right.
No, this was a local thing, dispute with the printers or something. I don't know. Always somebody on strike in a newspaper.
Oh yeah,
drivers.
Well, there was always somebody on strike. Period in those days. Yeah,
compositors and all that. So anyway, we went to this meeting, right? And it was, taking strike action, brothers. I think it was a pay dispute, to be honest, and something to do with pensions or something like that, So, all I wanted to do was get on and work.
Yeah.
So there were about...
So you showed no solidarity with your brothers, in other words?
It was quite the other way around. There were 200 of us, I think, in this room, because it was 3 newspapers, Evening Chronicle, Journal and Sunday Sun, a lot of journalists. So, take a vote, to continue the strike action for another week. And everybody voted yes, and then they said... No,
and also, you didn't get paid when you were on strike either, did you?
No, you didn't get paid, no. No dissenters then, and I said yes, and I put my hand up.
Yeah.
They said, what's your problem? I said, I think you've got it all wrong. I said, you're going for a 36-hour week. I said, at the moment, we work a 40-hour week. I think we should go for a 48-hour week. And, of course, this caused confusion amongst people who said, are you mad? I said, no, we should work more hours, not less. This is a great industry. We are lucky to be in it. We shouldn't be running off home at 3 o'clock every afternoon. Yeah. We should work more. Anyway,
go down the pub. So now you're in support of people in the North East
in the end, mate,
who now actually want to work less hours.
In the end, they wouldn't work with me. I had to leave and go to Birmingham, which was a much more forward-thinking paper.
Once again, we get the truth out of you.
Yeah.
I said to you the other day, you know what it's like when you go into a place of work and nobody really wants to talk to you, and they kind of send you to Coventry and all that, and you denied that you'd ever been in that situation.
No, but I stood on principle. I stood forward. I stood against the mob.
So you were blackballed, in other words.
I was blackballed.
Yeah.
And In fact, when we were on strike after that, they wouldn't let me play cards with them. No, seriously.
Because your entire life has been about unenlightened self-interest.
What do they call somebody who goes against the grain? A scab.
A scab.
Call me a scab.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I like a scab.
That's what you were.
Anyway, getting back to Barber,
so
right?
why are you now supporting this stand by the union to work for fewer hours?
Well, because it's been a successful family-run company for 120 years, right?
Yeah.
The wax jackets worn by everyone from the Queen, Duchess of Cambridge, Kate Moss, Hollywood Lee. Who should be expected in a coat factory to work till 11 o'clock at night?
Well,
we work till 11 o'clock at night because things happen 24 hours a day in our profession.
Well, listen.
But coats can be made between 9 and 6.
Well, not if there's a big demand.
What I'm saying is, the workers shouldn't have to work till 11. They should get more workers.
Well, they should
get a
more
bigger
workers.
Factory.
Well, they could get a bigger factory.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, maybe they could do that, but I think it's typical of what went wrong in this country in the 70s because people didn't want to work long enough hours. They didn't want to be part of a successful
11 o'clock's
company.
unreasonable. 11 o'clock at night.
Absolute rubbish.
No, well, anyway, you've caused that sort of problem.
I've not caused it.
Yes,
I bought one jacket.
Going around, flashing around in your barber jacket. You shouldn't be wearing barber jackets. You're far too much of a, what's the word, peasant. Far too much of a peasant to wear a barber jacket.
Very, very kind of you, Mr. Porky Parry. I only bought it because I was cold. 08717
flash.
33. Look at the time.
You've grown out of it already.
Look at the time.
It doesn't fit you anymore.
Yeah, it does fit me. Thank you very much indeed. It's just that I've got more stuff in the pockets. That's why it looks a bit tighter. This is Talk Sport. TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. Together we are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out, of course. We've had a lot of podcasts out on iTunes, and we've been doing rather well in the charts, I'd have to say. So thank you very much to everybody for downloading them. And there'll be another one out a little bit later on today.
Indeed. I have to say, Mike, you put that chart around yesterday, and I was astonished. I looked at it and I thought, wow. And, excuse me, number 7.
Yeah, it was number 7. It went up to number 6 as well at one point. I'm not sure where it is. I haven't looked at it since yesterday.
Excellent.
But yesterday was a great day, of course, because it was the end of 2014. We're going to give you a little quiz on 2014 coming up a little bit later
Bring it on.
I know you said you wanted one on tomatoes, but we'll do tomatoes next week.
I've never said I wanted a quiz on tomatoes.
You said that. You said you were an expert on tomatoes.
I said you could give me one on the greatest books of the 20th century. I could easily do that.
Greatest books. Please make a note of this behind the glass. Greatest books of the 20th century. OK, I'll give you a quiz on that.
Yeah.
We could give you a quiz on Elgar as well, because it's just been revealed to me that book, God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, the song was written before Elgar was even born.
Ah, you don't know that?
Yeah, I do know that.
No, you don't know that.
They know that.
No.
Anyway, let's talk about New Year, because I'll tell you what, I came in here last night, and I have to say, it was the usual kerfuffle of trying to get into the office because of the way that the fireworks now works. Instead of allowing 700,000 people to roam all over the place, which they did last year, they sold 100,000 tickets so that people could actually come and watch it in specific places.
And weren't people reselling these on eBay at 10 times the price?
I think they were, because there was a guy that we heard from on Talk Sport here who was from Swansea, who'd come up from Swansea with 3 other people, and they paid 300 quid for 4 tickets, right, to stand there from 6:30 at night until midnight when the fireworks actually went off. I mean, I was lucky enough to be able to watch the fireworks out the window here. But all the roads were closed off. You couldn't get a car anywhere near here. The roads were still closed. You're right, by the way.
Excuse me. Sorry. No.
Do you want some medicine?
No, I don't want any medicine.
And
I'll just tough it out.
The number of people who were reporting to me, because I didn't come in until about 11 o'clock, but people were telling me that on the tubes at 7 o'clock at night, there were people drinking on the tubes. Everyone was drunk already. I mean,
it's a disgrace.
I mean, it's an incredibly bad situation that we currently have in this country.
I think it's a disgrace. And I'm just looking at tomorrow morning's papers, Mike, right? Yeah. And some of them are focused on New Year's Eve because, of course, it would have been too late for them to go into Thursday morning's paper, wouldn't it? So they're going Friday morning's paper. Now, there's a spread here, right, in the Daily Mail, and they've focused particularly on young women in Manchester, Norwich, Birmingham, Liverpool, Cardiff. Some of the pictures are utterly disgraceful. These women are lying face down on pavements. Their friends actually dragging
there's one
them.
on the front of the Mirror. Carnage. That's just awful, isn't it?
Their friends dragging them, literally dragging them along a pavement. There's a young woman who was so drunk, she got onto a bike that was chained to a post, for security. Right. Tried to ride off on it, thinking it was a free bike or something, crashes to the ground and splits her head open. There's another woman literally lying curled up on the pavement, insensible, with 2 policemen standing close by who are not neglecting her but showing very little interest because presumably they've seen it all before. That's in Norwich. There's a picture of a woman in Liverpool who is literally being carried into a restaurant by a health worker.
Right.
And there's a woman in Cardiff who's kneeling on the ground, propped up against a bollard, being violently sick. I mean, they are shocking pictures.
And worse than that is the other side of it, and I'm not in any way diminishing what you're saying. They've got the other stuff on the front page. 3 partygoers killed by rogue ecstasy pills. Axeman kills drinker and injures 2 outside a pub. I think that was down in Plymouth. And then 6 revellers stabbed at the world-famous Belfry. Yeah. And you'd have to say the two things are clearly related, aren't they? I mean, violence, drunkenness, and all of that.
But let's move that on, because there's an organisation called YouGov. It's a polling organisation.
It is.
Okay? Now, they've done a poll recently, and one of the things that most normal people in this country think should happen is that drunks, in particular, should pay for the services they use from the National Health Service.
I don't disagree with that.
When they render themselves insensible through drink. And I totally agree.
Yeah.
I utterly and totally agree.
The problem is, though, with something like that, is that, when they do alcohol-related deaths or alcohol-related injuries or alcohol-related admissions, I mean, that can also include any number of other things, like people who injure themselves at home because they've had a bit too much of the local kind of, ginger wine or something, and they cut their finger off or something like that, or they fall down in the bathroom because they've drunk too much. So you end up then charging absolutely everybody. How would you manage to do it with these people who are simply just insensible and out on the street?
I'll tell you. First of all, we've got to stop the police acting like a branch of the social services and facilitating these people getting drunk.
Right.
Just by turning a blind eye. Yeah. Just by turning a blind eye, allowing these people to get mortally drunk on the streets. There used to be an offence called drunken disorderly.
Yeah, I can't believe that's even an offence anymore.
A joint pal of ours, a very tall man who worked for the evening paper in London, once spent a night in the cells for being drunk and disorderly. Yeah,
really?
Yeah, he was just arrested in Covent Garden or somewhere like that. Yeah. And it's happened to people I knew. I never got arrested for being drunk and disorderly because I was never drunk and disorderly.
Astonishing.
Might have been a bit drunk, but wasn't disorderly, and all that kind of stuff.
I could actually vouch for that. I've never seen you disorderly.
Right, well, there you go. And why aren't these people locked up immediately? And when they go out, they know 2 things. Firstly, I'm not going to arrest for being drunk and disorderly. And secondly, if I come to any harm, it doesn't matter. Somebody will send an ambulance, that'll take me to hospital, and that make me better again. That's an outrage.
The thing that I find amazing is what possible pleasure could be got from getting so drunk that not only do you not remember what you did, but that you could end up, especially some of these young women, without putting too fine a point on it, something horrible could happen to them.
Of course,
and they wouldn't even remember it.
Of course it could. And the answer to that is they're young. Drink in this country is very cheap, relatively, particularly if you're buying in supermarkets and go on the lash before you go out.
And this is what people tell me they do. I mean, a lot of nightclub owners and bar owners will say, actually, these people are already drunk before they get to the bars.
Not only that, Mike, they turn up in the bars, and because everyone carries a bag, there'll be a bottle in there which says perfume, but it's got vodka in it.
Dave, our producer, was coming in later last night. He came from Waterloo Station, and he was telling me that there was a woman swigging from a bottle of champagne coming off the top of the escalator.
Right.
Police officer said to her, excuse me, madam, you can't drink that here. Can you mind waiting until you get outside? She then started shouting at him and just threw the bottle over her head into the crowd of people who were coming behind her up the top of the escalator.
Did she get arrested?
No, because he went to try and catch the bottle, so it didn't hurt anybody, by which time she'd scarpered.
It's disgraceful. Excuse me. Now, what I was going to say is I've got a plan.
Have you?
And the plan is this. When everybody gets to the age of 18, they should be given a health voucher. And that health voucher might be worth £5,000, right? And then what happens is, if you get arrested when you're 19 for being in the sort of state these girls are in, and some of them are 19, some of them look younger to me.
Some of them probably are.
Then you go off to hospital, you get the treatment that's required.
Could be like one of those plastic sort of cards, couldn't it?
Yes, exactly.
With a chip in it.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely right, Mark. Absolutely right. And you have to carry it everywhere, like an identity card, okay?
Yeah.
So it's a bit like America. If you can't produce your insurance, you don't get treated.
Okay.
And if you can't produce your card, it should be the most vital thing you take out with you on a night out, because you might get hit by a car crossing the road or something like that. Yeah. You take your health voucher. Now, when you get into hospital and they treat you, you then hand in your health voucher. They then take the amount of cost it's been incurred to put you right.
Okay.
And when that health voucher for £5,000 runs out, when you're about 22, you don't get any more. You don't get any more treatment. You go to hospital.
What, for anything?
No, for nothing. You've had your £5,000 worth of treatment from National Health Service.
Well, hang on a second. So what happens if in later life you need to be treated for something?
Tough luck. You've got to then...
Well, that's ridiculous.
No, it's not.
That's mad.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It would be in the law that once your health voucher ran out, you would then have to automatically avail yourself of private health insurance.
Well, that's ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. It's a brilliant idea.
No, it's not a brilliant idea. It's a ludicrous idea.
You ask any economist whether or not that would make the country, A, more efficient, B, freer of drunks,
is your point
and
to try...
C,
well, hang on.
morally a finer place to live.
But as usual, you haven't thought this through properly, because what you would find is that, say, for example, somebody says, right, because of this system, I'm not going to actually get drunk. I'm not going to use up my £5,000 voucher on something like, admission to hospital between the ages of 18 and 21. Instead, I'm going to hold on to it until I have something really seriously wrong with me.
Yeah.
And then when they get something seriously wrong with them, £5,000 isn't going to cover anything, is it?
Well, that's okay, because...
How does that work?
Well, because they've got credit on their card and they haven't wasted on being treated for drunkenness.
Right.
And to tell you else it would apply to, it would apply to smokers who had lung problems. It would apply to them definitely as well.
Even though they've already paid massive amounts of money into the tax system.
Well, yeah, but you give them £5,000 back by the state.
Absolutely
Don't call me an
idiotic.
idiot when I've got a great idea
Absolutely
like that.
idiotic. Let's
Don't
talk to
call
Stuart.
me an idiot.
No, I said it was idiotic. I didn't call you an idiot.
You call me an idiot.
No, I said it's
you
idiotic.
call me an idiot.
No,
I'm not having that.
No, I said it's idiotic.
You're not going to
It's not the same thing. Let's talk to Stuart. You're getting very wound up about this.
Yeah.
He's a tube station supervisor. Stuart, very good morning to you.
Hi, Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Were you on duty last night, Stuart?
Yes, I was on duty at London Bridge on the underground station as double.
Right.
The one good thing with the ticketing, it did keep a lot of people away.
Right.
But, I mean, it is disgraceful. The people,
really is.
They're just being sick of the ticket hall. They're
Disgusting.
like weeing and pooing all over the station.
Oh, no,
Really?
don't say that. Don't say that.
This is gospel. This is from 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock at night, all the way through.
Can't bear
I've
this.
got my station cleaners that are earning a pittance.
Yeah.
And it's not a celebration. It's embarrassing.
It is. It's terrible.
Our company, we go on this world-class service for world-class city.
Yeah.
And, sorry, London at New Year's Eve is anything but a world-class city.
Oh, it's
embarrassing.
Disgusting. I can't bear to hear all this on this vile behaviour. But listen,
And it's
Stuart.
the truth. So you get youngsters, they just stop escalators with old people on it.
Yeah.
They have to walk up, and then they're able to go ask for it.
And what about the British Transport Police, Stu, are supposed to police these stations and make sure they're orderly?
Exactly. I mean,
Where were they?
We actually did have a good presence of BTP on the station yesterday.
Yeah.
But they just don't seem to have any rights. They tried to implement £80 fines, and the person can't afford it.
It's an absolute
Nothing
disgrace.
happens.
Yeah.
And then they just walk off.
And do you ever see, Stu, do you ever see one of these disgusting revellers who are, desecrating your station? Do you ever see them get arrested?
No, they don't, because there's no place to put them.
Yeah, you see,
the small...
every station...
What do you make of Porky's idea, Stuart? If they all carried these cards with them that said that if they spent the £5,000, they wouldn't get drunk,
No,
you think that'll work?
That never work.
Yeah, it's a stupid idea. It's a stupid idea, isn't it?
Stu, if you're a tube station supervisor, then you have the responsibility to start campaigning and lobbying now for 6 cells in every station in this country.
Station.
And
It's a great idea.
6 cells in
brilliant.
every station,
Genius.
right? And that's for locking up drunks who are desecrating your station. What do you think about that?
Honestly, it's disgraceful. When I was a kid...
Why are you laughing?
It's not a church.
I'm not like... I remember when I was a kid, my mum and dad singing Old Lang Syne.
Yeah?
People last night...
Maybe they should have been locked up.
There's no festivities to it. It's just kids going out there, smashed out their heads, stopping escalators, people falling down, and then you're watching old people walk up them.
Yeah.
And they think that's a good night out. It's disgraceful.
It's hard to believe.
Disgusting.
Sure, it's hard to believe. Thank you very much indeed. Stu.
And what's wrong with having detainery cells on
there isn't any
stations?
room. Where are you going to put all this?
Well, put them underground. Underground means underground, doesn't it? That's an underground station.
That's rubbish.
It's not rubbish
at all. I have not thought any of this through. How much do you think it's going to cost to detain all these people? And
I don't care what it costs to save the
cops?
reputation of the moral fibre of our country. It's worth every last penny.
Yeah, I think it's too late for that, I'm afraid. Anyway, have you seen the time? Look into the light for a moment, because we are
Of course I know the time.
Well, do you? What time is it?
It's 2:45, and I am, trying to endorse a point, and you're trying to cut me off again because it's my point, not your point. You haven't got the moral fibre to see these things through.
I know how much these things cost, and I am realistic, which you are not. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mites. Got some more questions for you coming up on Twitter tonight, Porky. Sean says this, Porky turned a big 6-0, get stuck into him. And Aaron says, happy 60th, Porky. You look older, to be fair. I think they've obviously looked on Wikipedia. They've looked at Wikipedia, which says that you would have turned 60.
Oh, they're all
but
having
of course,
a laugh.
we all know that some of that stuff isn't correct.
They're all having a
Taxi
laugh.
Man says, what the hell is Wilkinson's? This was this, fictitious department store that you were talking about earlier.
I'm sure there's a store that sells things like plastic bags and things called Wilkinson's.
Why would you go to a shop to buy a plastic bag?
I mean, the sort of plastic bags you put inside bins and all that sort of stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure there
Wilkinson's.
is. I'm sure there is. You look it up on your magic machine.
I'm not going to look in my magic machine.
There is a Wilkinson's.
I'm too busy using my magic machine for surfing the internet. Lee in Lee, actually not in Bradford. Lee says, "This is amazing. This will amaze you. This will boggle your mind."
Go on.
He says, "I'm listening live while flying over the Atlantic, having spent New Year's Eve in Minneapolis."
Why would you go to Minneapolis for New Year's Eve?
Well, that's not the point. The point is he's listening on a plane.
Oh, okay. So how did he contact us?
He tweeted us from a plane. He's obviously in first class. He's obviously got Wi-Fi. He's obviously listening.
You can't do that.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
You can't.
First class planes now have Wi-Fi. When was the last time you were in a first class situation? Transatlantic, you could now get Wi-Fi on planes.
I flew back from Australia first class on Qantas.
Well, did you have Wi-Fi, or were you just
I didn't notice it.
too pie-eyed to know what was going on?
No, I wasn't pie-eyed. No, I was
Really?
a guest of the airline. So,
So you'd been in the first class lounge then?
Well, I had a...
Funny you should mention that, because we have a man now who actually lives in Sydney.
Excellent, good.
Mr Lee Sutherland, who's an Everton fan. He wants to talk to you about the troubles at Goodison Park, because there are many troubles to be had.
There are.
Lee, a very good morning to you. Welcome.
Morning, Mike. How are we?
Yeah, not bad at all.
Depressing week. Depressing week.
Depressing holiday season, right? Because Everton have lost all 3 games of the only teams who have lost all 3 games. It's an absolute shocking situation. Do you agree with Porky that it's not a crisis yet?
I think we have. I think the crisis is going to come this week when the FA Cup comes, and if we get knocked out by West Ham, then we are seriously in trouble. Especially when you look at 3 of the next 5 games are against Chelsea, Manchester City, and Liverpool. So this dark cloud that has descended doesn't look like it's going to go away pretty soon. Anyway, it's going to be a long, tough winter at Goodison. Not good. But I've seen worse.
Well, yeah, I think, not much worse, to be honest, at this stage of the season. But the thing is, Lee, after West Ham, we've got Manchester City.
He just said that.
Oh, I know he said that, but what I'm saying is that will make it 5 Premier League games, possibly, because I don't think anybody will give us a cat in hell's chance of beating Manchester City. That could be 5 defeats on the run. This is really bad news. It hasn't happened for 11 years. I feel bereft, and I feel bereft for the fans, but also for Mr Kenwright, the chairman, who, of course, put his faith in appointing Roberto Martinez.
Well, he did. He put his faith in Martinez last season. We all enjoyed the ride last season, and it was a great season. And I think Kenwright, again, backed him in the summer to the tune of about 60 million. So Kenwright has done everything within his power. So we enjoyed last season. And I just don't think it's the time for knee-jerk reactions as much as
totally agree.
I wake up and I see it and go, oh, no, not again. Yep. It's just, look, give him a chance to fix it, and then we'll judge it at the end of the season. One thing that I find baffling is, whilst it's terrible results-wise, it's probably the most talented squad we've had in about 15, 20 years.
It is, yeah. So I totally agree.
But also, Lee, the squad hasn't really changed that much, has it, since last season?
No, it hasn't.
So it's hard to believe. I mean, with Liverpool, when they were having their slump, you could say, well, Sturridge is injured, and of course Suarez is gone. But with Everton, yes, they've had injuries, but in the end, it's more or less the same team that got into the Europa League. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it, and that's what I find baffling. They've added to the team that was there last year, but every game there just seems to be individual errors every single time.
Yeah,
it's costing us dear.
Lee, you're so right. I mean, old Ross Barkley, misplacing a ball back to his goalkeeper and all that kind of stuff. But what I find most surprising, Lee, and this came from somebody who knows a lot more about football than me, is that I'm told the rest of the Premier League have learned how to snuff out the overlapping attacking power of both Coleman and Leighton Baines, and that Martinez can't figure out how to get round it.
Well, I think that a lot of Everton fans have been crying out and saying the same, is, we need to have a plan B. It's great sort of having this style of play, but sometimes you've got to go, dare I say it, a little bit old school and back to the way Moyes used to do it. Is, don't get beat first. Let's just concentrate on defence and maybe just sniff out a 1-0, surprise win, rather than just, sticking with this style of play and just, and in his own mind thinking, it will come off. Have, at least 3 game changes, because he's got the subs there. But then there was a couple of weeks ago we had a game where we're screaming out for substitutions to change the style of play. But the 2 players who went off injured were Jagielka and Howard. So then you're stifled into what you can do then. So I think Martinez is on a massive learning curve here, but I trust him to get us out of it.
So do I.
And the players to get us out of it.
Oh, so do I.
I think it's going to be a very dark January, though, and I think it's only going to be February after those games, where we find ourselves sort of on the up. There's worse teams in there.
Yeah,
that's
there are.
The good thing about it.
I would like Mr Martinez to spring back with a great result against West Ham in the FA Cup. That will give us hope, give us vision, it'll give us a target, it'll give us a place in the next round, and that in itself should give us confidence. So I'm pretty pleased about it. What's the reaction down there, Lee, to the fact that Steven Gerrard of Liverpool appears now to be heading for America next season?
Well, all the Everton fans are absolutely delighted because he's had one over on us for all those years.
He has, yeah.
I think with the Liverpool fans, I think they've all sort of, just looking on the social media pages and knowing a lot of the guys and girls, they all think that their thought process is, well, he's going out on his terms. Everyone's aware of it now. It's going to be signed off, and he can get the send off that he thoroughly deserves. Because even as an Everton fan, you've got to sort of tip your hat and go, he has been a great player for both club and country. And, if he goes over there as a marquee player, he can go play some exhibition stuff because he will be the number 1 draw card, and he can enjoy, his couple of seasons in the sun, and why not? Why wouldn't you? Take his family over there. What an experience!
Yeah, sure.
It's a shocking situation. Well, listen, Lee, I think you're holding up very well under the circumstances. Thanks very much indeed
for talking to us.
And a very happy New Year to you as well. Got a lot of information coming in, by the way, Porky, about Wilkinson's. Apparently, Wilkinson's, according to Pete, is a store based mainly up north. They have them around the Wirral and near Liverpool.
See, told you.
Here's another one from I think it came in from on the text. Here's one from Kevin in Glasgow. There was a store chain called Wilkinson's, but it may have changed its name slightly now. What I have found is that there's a reference in Google. There are some Wilkinson stores, but some of them are called Wilco.com, apparently.
I told you so. I know more about it than you do.
Yeah, well, I'm going to explain to you why I don't know of this place. Marcus in South Wales says, great show, Mike. There is a chain of shops called Wilkinson's. They sell black bin bags, gardening equipment, perfume, and lots more various things. So, Parry, he says, you were right all along.
Excuse me,
once
Parry,
again.
that's a bit blunt. Do you mean Mr. Parry?
No, he says, so Parry, you legend is what he calls you.
Thank you.
You were correct again.
Okay.
But the reason I don't know about this store, is I'm looking at the London store finder, and there is no store called Wilkinson's anywhere in central London. They're all kind of around. There is one in Sutton, there is one in Kingston, there's one in Hounslow, there's one in Wembley.
There you go.
I don't frequent those kind of places,
Well,
I live in central London.
Stockbroker Belt, Surrey, mate.
Well, Sutton, well, it's clearly a discount sort of cheapo store, isn't it? It's the kind of place you'd love, sort of place you'd love to go.
No.
Are you saying that they are manufacturers of fine goods? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all.
It's like the Fortnum and Masons of Epsom, is it?
Do you know what I like about the pound stores, Mike? Do you know what I love about the pound stores?
I love pound stores.
Do you know what I love about them?
Yeah, go on.
I go in there with a £20 note, right? Yeah. And I love coming out with 20 things.
Yeah, it makes it easy for you, doesn't it?
No, I'm telling you. And do you know what I do?
When was the last time you went to a pound store?
About a week before Christmas. And what I get
is... you bought the presents?
No.
Is that where you bought my boots, by the way? You bought my boots at a pound store, didn't you?
No, I didn't, No, I didn't. Seriously.
You sure?
Bought those at a garden centre.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Marvellous.
Yeah. They were discounted, though.
Yeah, of course.
No, in the pound store, I buy 4... pump-like soaps, the things that you see on...
hand soap.
Hand soap.
Liquid soap.
4 of those.
Yeah.
4...
Why did you buy 4 of them?
because I wanted 5 different products, so I bought 4 of each, makes £20. It's fantastic to go in and say, I've got 20 products, here's £20.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay?
No, it does make life simple. However, it is sometimes a bit complicated, because there are times when you go in, for example, I remember hearing Hawksby and Jacobs talking about this, David Beckham's perfume was on sale and had been discounted quite heavily in a local pound store in Shepherd's Bush or something like that, but it was £8. So imagine going into a pound store and finding something costing £8. How would that confuse you?
I don't think you can get £8 things in a pound store.
Well, no, this was what they were doing, because you can't sell perfume for £1 unless it's really awful.
Well, anyway, look, you can get 5 pump action soaps, hand soap.
Pump action?
That's what it is.
It's a shotgun. It's not a pump action soap.
It is. You pump
Rubbish.
it from the top, you fool.
You just press it. Yeah,
well, that's the same thing.
Action. It's not like...
Right. 5,
that's pump action.
5 of those things that you hang in the shower, right?
What do you hang in the shower?
You know, shower
I don't know what you hang in the shower.
Stuff, yeah, they put on your...
Do you mean shower gel?
That's it. That's the stuff, right? 5 fairy
Gold
liquid...
rings.
No, 5 fairy liquid washing up liquids.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you must take a while to use those up.
No, I don't. No, I wash everything all the time.
You wash everything all the time?
Yes, I do, yeah.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. It's all right, I'm okay.
I think the fumes from the washing up liquid have got to you.
5... I'm trying to think what else 5 of. Oh, I know.
I thought it was 4 of.
4. It's 4. That's right. 4 ammonia sprays.
4 ammonia sprays for the dogs.
Well, no, but I mean, I will use them for the dogs, but they're for cleaning the bathroom and the kitchen.
You don't actually use any of this stuff, do you?
No,
Mop uses it all.
I buy it for my housekeeper. Yeah. And
right, you've got one lot of 4 left.
Well, yeah, and I'm trying to remember what it was now. It was 4... large tubes of Colgate toothpaste. How about that?
Well, how long does it take to get through that?
Not long. I clean my teeth a lot.
You clean your teeth a lot?
Got
Well,
big
you
teeth.
must do.
Yeah.
You got what?
Big teeth. No, so I clean them all.
Well, quite frankly, if you buy 4 tubes of Colgate toothpaste, that would last you about 4 years, wouldn't it?
No.
Would you live on your own?
No.
I presume you don't let anybody else use your toothpaste.
I clean my teeth.
You don't let the workmen come around and use them.
No, I certainly. I clean my teeth twice. First of all.
Twice.
Yeah.
Oh, no, good. No. What, once in the morning, once at night?
No.
Say the time, by the way.
I clean them twice at the same time.
At the same time? You can't clean them twice at the same time.
Once with the Colgate.
You cannot clean them twice at the same time.
And then...
You clean them once, and then you clean them again.
No. And then...
How can you clean them twice at the same time?
Because I've got a separate brush, and I put that pearl stuff on it.
I've seen that, yeah.
The pearl stuff, which makes them shine white. Okay?
Really?
I've got a mouthful of ulcers at the moment, so it's very painful. It is, honestly.
Maybe you're cleaning your teeth too much.
It's very painful cleaning my teeth at the moment.
Working. And look, even as we speak, up there on one of the internal monitors, you can see Frank Lampard playing with some kids, and they're all excited about him coming to America, and they're all really.
How do you know
bold.
that's in America?
Well, because the bit they've just stopped showing it now. But they were just showing a piece of film of him with a load of kids wearing the New York City strip, and going through the whole motion, doing the whole PR thing. Yes. I'm not being terribly critical of Frank Lampard. I think he's found himself in a situation he didn't expect to find himself in. I have not lost touch with reality. I just think that, if he knew that there was an opportunity and a chance of him coming to Manchester City, which he must have known, I don't believe that he didn't think that was a possibility, he shouldn't have gone there and promised them that he was going to come and start playing for them. Yeah. Because he may never ever get there now. And a lot of the supporters, as you'll find out, are actually of a mind to say, we don't actually want him. Let's get somebody else as our marquee signing.
I'm not sure about it. He didn't get an honour in the New Year's honours list, did he, Frank?
I don't think he did, no.
Because I looked at those very closely.
Did you?
Love looking at those honours lists. And the most remarkable people get one.
Your friend Dame Joan Collins got one.
Dame Joan Collins got one, yeah.
Have you brought that picture in of you?
No, but I have it.
Well, you keep saying you're going to bring it in and show it to us.
I don't have to prove myself to anybody.
Well, I think you do, actually.
Here, I bet you can't tell me who Peter Asher is. He got a CBE.
I can't tell you, no. No idea.
Are you sure you can't tell me?
I don't know who Peter Asher is.
Peter Asher has got a CBE.
No, I don't know who he is.
He was once part of that group from the 60s called Peter and Gordon.
Peter and Gordon, yeah.
Now, you know the song they sung?
If you played it, I'd probably remember it.
Yeah, I'll play it. We might even have it on the system, actually, but I forgot to mention it to our high-tech boys in there, but it's please lock me away and don't allow the day here inside
doesn't ring a bell.
Where I hide
sounds
in
horrible.
my loneliness.
No,
I don't care what you say, I won't stay
I know it,
in a world without
I know
love.
that bit, now I recognise that bit. Did they do any other songs?
I think they did another one or two. But anyway, the point of it is...
why has he got CBE now?
Well, I'm just going to tell you the whole story.
Yeah,
and
right.
the whole story is that Peter Asher was the brother of Jane Asher.
Oh, right.
And Jane Asher was Paul McCartney's
girlfriend. Yeah.
And he even lived in her parents' house.
The fashion icon.
Yeah, that's right. He even lived in her parents' house in Duke Street, which is in the West End. The road that runs parallel to...
Around the back of Oxford Street.
To Oxford Street, that's right, yeah.
The Duchess of Duke Street was a very famous TV show, wasn't it?
But this was an indication of the start of the different sort of artistic ways that Lennon and McCartney were going. Because when Paul McCartney, who's now, of course, Sir Paul McCartney, wrote that song, he wrote it for the Beatles. And the reason he gave it to Peter Asher was because John Lennon refused to sing the first line, please lock me away, because he thought somebody probably would.
Here we go. I found it.
Yeah.
Where I hide with my loneliness, I don't care what they say, I won't stay in a world without love.
It's not that good, is it?
Well, I mean,
it's very much of its time.
Oh, absolutely.
But I still don't understand. You've got to tell me the whole story. I still don't understand why he's suddenly being honoured now.
Well, because he was only a pop star for about 2 years. Once Paul McCartney got of writing bum records for... No, sorry, McCartney didn't write any bum records. Once he got tired of writing Rosemary, he went off and he became literally a sort of music executive. So he went and started producing records and running record companies and all that kind of stuff. And he got a CB in the New Year's Honours list.
For services to the music industry.
Services to the music industry, that's right, yeah. But you see, the story doesn't end there. Jane Asher, of course, went on to be incredibly famous, right?
Yes.
As both...
as a designer.
Fashion owner. But now she cooks a lot of cakes, doesn't she?
She does.
And, I mean, when you think that she nearly married Paul McCartney but didn't, I was writing a book. I went to the publishers.
Oh, another book?
Yeah, a book,
a book about Paul McCartney?
No, not a book about Paul McCartney. A book. It was a book. And,
a book about what?
I can't tell you because it hasn't been published yet.
What do you mean you can't tell me?
I can't tell you.
Well, give me a hint.
I can't.
It's another book about football.
No, yeah, it is about a football.
Is it another Wayne Rooney football?
No.
Because you were going to write more than one, weren't you?
Well, we're still talking about that.
They're still selling that other one for a penny, you know. People keep tweeting. Every day I get at least 3 tweets from people saying, by the way, I've just been on eBay and it's still for sale for a penny.
Every book that's ever been published is for sale on eBay for 1 penny.
No, it isn't.
It is.
No.
It is.
Only yours is.
Anyway, so I go along to the publishers and there's a chap there, a very nice young man called Rory. Okay.
Here you go, look. Rooney Tunes. I found one right here. James has sent it in.
Yeah.
Can somebody ban Porky from talking rubbish and ban his 99p book? And there's a picture of it, 99p.
Well, that's not 1p, is it? That's not 1p.
No.
You said 1p, you're trying to belittle me again.
Yeah, you could get it for a penny as well if you look closely.
Mike, it was published 6 years ago. So it's not going to go at face value now, is it?
How many did it sell?
Incalculable number. And when I say that, I mean, I can't tell you. I can't tell you.
You mean you don't know? Well, or is it such a low number
I haven't seen the latest release from my publishers. Anyway, we got to this publishers, right? A young man there called Rory. I said, no. And anyway, a colleague of his came in and said something, and I said, sorry, what does that mean? What have you got to do with Jane Asher?
Yeah.
And he said, Jane Asher's my mother.
Really?
I said, Jane Asher's your mother. And I said to him, and this is a bit sort of...
This was a guy in the publishing department?
The guy in the publishing company.
Right.
And I said, good God. And I said something incredibly insensitive. I said... So you could have been Paul McCartney's son. And he said, well, in a parallel world I could have done. He said, but as my mother didn't marry Paul McCartney, I'm the son of my father. And you know who his father was?
Who's his father?
Gerald Scarfe.
Oh, really? The cartoonist?
Absolutely.
He used to live in my road.
Is that right?
In Hampstead, yeah.
Yeah, is that right? Well, there you go, you see. No, it's not an amazing
small
coincidence.
World?
It's very, very
well, it was a very
world.
kind of incestuous world in those days as well, wasn't it? Everybody kind of knew everybody else. And
in the swinging 60s in London, of course they did, yeah. Did you see, I saw a piece
Hang on,
yesterday.
before you move off that subject, Deemer's sent this in earlier. I meant to point this out to you earlier, because this is something else about an earlier podcast that we did. He says, I'm laughing at Porky running down wings on that podcast. I don't know if that was the last one we did. He said they had 12 UK and 15 US top 10s. Every LP went top 10. # more hits than Lennon. Because you were saying that Wings didn't really do very much.
Well, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is...
Well, you had said that, though.
No, I didn't. What I said was, compared to the success that McCartney had with the records he recorded with John Lennon, Wings could never possibly have matched that for obvious reasons, because it's only half of the Lennon-McCartney talent, wasn't it? You know? That's all I said.
All right. And I'm getting loads of abuse, actually, for not knowing about Wilkinson's, which I think is very unfair.
There you go, you see, because you're not a man of the people, and I am.
Well, no, James says there's a massive 2-storey Wilkinson's in Swindon. It's been there donkey's years. You name it, they sell it.
There you go.
I can't believe I've never heard of this place.
Well, that's because you walk around with your eyes closed.
Well, most of them are in the north of England, where I don't go, right? MG Wilkinson is nothing like a £1 shop. They sell items from a few pounds to items costing hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And then here's one from somebody who doesn't give a name, saying, I can't believe Mike Graham has never heard of Wilkinson's. They're on every high street, obviously not next door to Harrods, where you must do your shopping.
Harrods,
you out-of-touch snob. Well, does he mean Harrods? I don't know.
Of course he means
Harrods. I don't
Harrods.
do my shopping at Harrods, actually. And there isn't one in my high street, so I'm sorry to say that, I'm just unaware of Wilkinson.
I just said to you, you're living your life with your eyes closed, didn't I?
Eh?
I just said to you, you're living your life with your eyes
Not
closed.
at all.
No,
I've never seen a shop called Wilkinson's in my life.
That was a clue. That was a clue to another brilliant Beatles track.
Oh, sorry.
Living your life with your eyes closed.
Oh, really?
Go on.
Well, I don't know.
Don't be ridiculous.
Is that another line from it?
Of course it is.
Living your life with your eyes closed, don't be ridiculous.
No. Living is easy with eyes closed, forgetting everything you see. What's that from?
I know it, but I can't.
Strawberry Fields.
Strawberry Fields,
See? What a rendition.
Why are you holding your arms out like you've done something brilliant? You're like a performing seal.
Strawberry fields. Nothing is real. And nothing to get hung about. Strawberry fields forever. Living is easy with eyes closed. Misunderstanding all you see. It's getting hard to be someone, but it all works out.
It is nice to hear the real version, actually, rather than you warbling away, because it is great music. It is fantastic music, I have to say. Now,
brilliant, eh?
That's brilliant.
I think that's the greatest ever Beatles record.
Do you?
Seriously.
I'm not sure what I would
whenever
say
I'm
it
asked, what is the best Beatles record? There's 50 of them. Well, there's certainly 10 or 15 or 20, but that, for me, I mean, Hey Jude has a great reckoning.
It's very difficult, actually. Let It Be is pretty good as well.
That is one of the best, I think.
It is very difficult to judge. Now, John is rather unkind.
Right.
He's tweeted at IROMG and Mike Parry 8. He says, what with his persistent cough and mouth ulcers, you should just put Mike Parry out of his misery with a pump-action shotgun.
Well, no, that's very unkind. And if I said that, even as a joke, on air, to a listener, I would be berated and barracked by...
Barracked?
Yes.
Or even barracked?
Yes, by the people who run TalkSport for being a little cruel, unkind, all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't work two ways.
No.
Because I'm big enough to take it. Yeah. I'm like a punch bag for people who
you look a bit like a punch bag
want
as
to
well,
sort of mildly insult me, but think that they'll have a joke at my expense by insulting me. I can take it, don't worry.
No, it's good.
Broad
it's one of the
shoulders.
things that we've always said about you. Now, Lee, who we were speaking to earlier, the Everton fan, apropos the guy listening on Wi-Fi on a plane flying across the Atlantic, Lee says, by the way, that call was done whilst listening in via Wi-Fi on a cruise ship in the South Pacific. So there you go.
Who's call?
Lee, the Everton fan that we were speaking to. Just,
he was on a cruise ship.
He was on a cruise ship in the South Pacific, yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic,
Isn't that amazing?
Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, listen,
now, Minneapolis, you said to me, why would anyone go to Minneapolis for Christmas? I went to Minneapolis a couple of times.
Did you?
And I went there, I think, once in the summer, where it was quite nice. And when I went back in the winter... It was astonishing because what they've got there, it's so cold, is they've got a whole series of underground sort of tunnels and connecting buildings.
Really?
Because you don't want to go outside. That's how cold it is. So when you go into an underground car park, basically you then go up into the building via lift, and you can go into every other building in the city without having to go back outside.
What, they've got like a tube network with no tubes?
Yeah, it's a walking bridge network, basically. Yeah, so all the buildings are interconnected.
Where is Minneapolis? I've got a clue where it is.
Well, it's in Minnesota.
Where's Minnesota?
It's one of the Great Lakes states. It's kind of, you go to Chicago and then sort of go left.
Next to Illinois, then?
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. It's sort of... It goes,
that made Milwaukee famous.
Yeah, I think it goes Illinois, Milwaukee.
Loser out of me.
Yeah, all right. We've already heard your Rod Stewart impression at the Christmas party. Thanks very much indeed. Matt Holland's still traumatised, by the way.
Oh, no, I got lots of...
Yes, he is. No, he's still traumatised.
Lots of real compliments for that. Listen, talking about...
Excuse me, I'm telling you a story about where Minneapolis is.
I thought you finished.
You asked me where it was.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Right, so it goes Chicago, then it goes Milwaukee. I went to Milwaukee to cover Jeffrey Dahmer's trial. Remember the cannibal?
Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah, I remember him. Yeah.
And then you go through Milwaukee, and then you get to Minnesota.
Okay.
It's the land of the lakes. You know how on the
Land of the Lakes,
on the number plates in America, they've got the
New Jersey, Garden State.
Garden State. My favourite one was Vermont. Do you remember Vermont?
Yeah.
Live free or die. I was like, that seems a bit harsh. Live free or
There's
die.
a lot of slavery there over there, something.
Yeah, and then so anyway, it was land of lakes because it's all.
Is California Golden State?
I think it's the no, I don't think
Sunshine
it's the Golden
State,
State.
Florida.
No,
Florida.
Sunshine State's Florida.
Sunshine State.
California, I think. Maybe it was the Golden State. I can't
New
remember.
York is capital state, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
No, the Empire State it is.
Empire State, yeah, absolutely right. They named the building after it. Excuse me.
No, we're going to go to New York in a minute because Brian Sharetta's going to join us on the line.
Yeah, oh, good. I want to talk to Brian, but after I talk to Brian, I'm going to talk to you about this Katie Hopkins woman because she's been baracked for.
Yeah, well, talk to me about that later.
I'm going
to because
she's been insulting people in Glasgow. It's not
yeah,
good
well,
enough.
she made a very stupid comment about the Ebola nurse, which is just unnecessary. She's a ghastly woman. We've had her on this show a couple of times. Yeah. I say about her that she just says things for effect.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, or the times they are a-changing.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two mics, and of course, it's that time. It's time for Porky's quiz, and we thought, what better? Despite the fact you've asked for a quiz on tomatoes, you've asked for.
I have not asked for a quiz on anything. No,
you've asked for a quiz on great British books of the 20th century.
You gerrymander the answers.
All right, well, hang on, I haven't got to the answers yet.
Yeah, well, you do. I'm warning you before you start.
All right, well, don't warn me, because what I thought would be fair, because of the fact that we've just moved into a new year, and we're actually second day.
What would be fair if you stuck to the answers that are the answers and not invented your own?
Look, I've got them all here.
Right.
I've got them all written down. The answers are here. I don't change them. This is a quiz on 2014
gobbledygook,
because that was last year, and this is this year. Now, as ever, these have been compiled by a group of independent auditors, and if you get anything right, you will hear this sound.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
And if you get it wrong, you will hear this.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong.
Why do those responses have to be so long? That takes so much time up out of the quiz.
Don't ask me.
Silly responses to good questions.
All right.
And,
well, let's get straight to it, shall we? Well, let's get straight to it.
Wrong, wrong.
Question number 1. Which cyclist appeared in the Archers for Sports Relief? Look at his face.
Looking at
your face is a picture.
Right, which cyclist
appeared in the Archers for Sport Relief?
But I've never listened to the Archers in my life.
Well, that's not my fault.
Why would a stupid question like that for?
Well, because everybody knows the answer.
If I listen to the radio, mate, I listen to TalkSport.
It was in the newspaper, and you read newspapers, don't you?
Right, I'll tell you what, it's either Chris Boardman or it's Sir what's-his-name, did the porridge advert, or whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Yeah,
Sir what's-his-name that did the porridge advert?
Hoy.
What's your answer?
So either Borden and Hoy or...
Well, you can't give me 5 answers. Give me an answer. We haven't got a lot of time.
Or the man who won the... we
haven't got a lot of time.
The man who won the Tour de France the first time.
Pick a name.
Hoy.
Incorrect.
Wrong, 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 wrong.
It is, in fact, Sir Bradley Wiggins.
I told you it was the guy who won the French the Tour de France first time round.
None out of 1.
I did.
Question number 2.
That's a lie.
Question number 2. What is the name of the Queen's 4th great-grandchild born in January of 2014?
January. 4th grandchild. January. How old is George?
What?
How old is George?
George Harrison.
No, you fool. George, who's the son of William.
Well, you mean Prince George?
Prince George.
Yeah. Well, I can't give you the answer to that.
Was he born in January?
Well, I can't give you an answer. I can't give you clues, all right?
I think he's already been to Australia. I think he's older than that. What are you laughing at?
He's already been to Australia.
No, I think he has.
I've seen his baby lining up in the first-class section.
No, I think he has. Right.
Where are you going? Where?
Hang on. Are there any other babies been born? Gotta
hurry you.
I know. It could be Zach, who is the child of Peter, who is married to Zara.
Incorrect.
I didn't say it was the answer. I didn't say it was the answer. I said it could be, and I was thinking aloud, but it's George.
Well, it's not George.
Right, who is it?
Not that either. It's Mia Tyndall.
I said that.
No, you didn't.
I said born to...
Peter.
Yeah.
And you said Peter and Zara.
Peter and Zara.
Yeah.
No, I meant Mike Tyndall and Zara.
Well, I don't care what
Peter's
you meant.
Not married
None
to
out
Zara.
of two. None out of two.
This is rubbish.
Number 3. This is a musical question. Have a listen to this.
Ridiculous questions.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel.
Now, you must remember this was one of the big hits of 2014. The song's called Happy. Who's it by? Why are you looking at me like that?
I don't listen to the modern.
Well, you must
pop
know
charts.
that song. You must have heard that, right?
Where would I have heard that?
Well, you would have heard it all over the place. It was in adverts. It was all over the TV.
Well, you think I tune into Radio 1, do you?
We've used it here at Talk Sport.
Get down with the kids and all that. That's a ludicrous question to ask me. You might as well ask me. What is the latest in tablet technology for 17-year-olds?
What is the latest in tablet technology?
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Are you going to have a go at answering it or not?
Is it called something like...
I've told you what it's called. I want to know who sang it.
Do you call it...
It's called Happy.
Happy. Right. In that Happy... I don't know, he's some hip-hop singer.
It's not by Dopey either.
He's some hip-hop singer, isn't he?
No.
He's a hip-hopper.
No. Hop, 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 hop.
Come
on, hurry up. It's nearly time for the news.
I don't know, do I?
It's Pharrell Williams.
Pharrell Williams.
Right.
Ridiculous name.
None out of 3. Question number 4. Which constituency returned the first UKIP MP when Douglas Carswell won a by-election? Now, you should know this one as a student of politics.
That was... It was like out towards Southend.
Which constituency?
It was somewhere out there. Like, it was in Essex.
You're warm. You're definitely warm.
It was Essex.
You're definitely warm. I'll give you half a point for Essex.
Is Southend in Essex?
Southend is in Essex, yeah.
In Essex,
but it's not Southend.
Essex.
I don't know why I'm helping you. I get accused of being too easy on you now.
No. It must be... I've already got half a point for Essex.
Yeah.
So I'm going to...
You're happy with that? You're going to stick with that?
No. I think it's...
You're going to take another card.
Is it... Oh, dear me. Wait a minute. It's near Southend. Definitely near Southend. I'll say outer Southend.
What?
So to speak.
Outer Southend, no. You get half a point for Essex. It was Clacton, actually.
Clacton.
Question number 5. You've currently got half a point out of 4.
Question
number 5. What was the winner of Best Animated Feature at the Oscars?
Oh, rubbish. How would I know that?
It was a massively famous film.
Freeze.
Frozen. There you go, yes.
Frozen.
You finally got one right.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
1.5 out of 5.
Really
okay, now this one you should get. Which couple consciously uncoupled in March?
That was the guy from the rock group, Chris Martin.
Yes.
And Gwyneth Paltrow.
What?
No, Chris Martin and... Hang on. What are you laughing at? It was
just laughing at that answer.
It was Chris Martin and...
yeah, but you're nearly right.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Paltrow, yes,
yeah,
good. Well done.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
2.5.
Well, I said that the first time. Why didn't you say, yes, you're right?
You said Paltrow.
Well, you know what I meant.
I did. Question number 7. What 4-letter word beginning with V was the OED's word of the year?
The Oxford English Dictionary.
Word of the year.
Begins with V.
V, yeah, V for Victor.
Word of the year?
Word of the year.
Well, blimey, there's about, I'm not joking, 7 million words in the Oxford English Dictionary. How can I possibly guess that?
Yeah, because it's a new word that they normally put as the word of the year. They haven't just guessed one word. They don't just go, let's pick a word out of the dictionary.
What's that?
They go with a new word.
What's that thing called that Miley Cyrus did when she bends over and gyrates her posterior? It's not that, then.
No, it doesn't start with a V.
Hang on. V. It's got to do something with a mobile phone, isn't it? Or a laptop or a tablet or something. If it's not twerking. What is it?
By the way, there's 252,000 odd words in the OED, not 7 million.
No, it's about 7 million. Let me... No, there are, because you're talking about words that are defined, and I'm talking about the words that define them as well. you see what I mean?
Well, they're all in there.
Yeah.
They don't have like 2 volumes of the
No,
Oxford
you
English
don't,
Dictionary.
but
Here's a list of some words, and then there's another dictionary with all the words that describe those words.
Right, if you had the word...
You're going to run out of time.
If you had the word parsonage...
Give us an answer.
You'd then have 6 words to describe what parsonage is. Altogether, 7 million
And they're all
words.
in there, yeah.
Right.
That's why it counts up to 250,000.
V.
I'll have to hurry you.
I'll have to say... voluptuous.
No.
Wrong.
Why would that be a new word?
I
Voluptuous is not a new word. It's vape. Vape, which is that thing that people use to smoke
with e-cigarettes.
Smokeless cigarettes, right. So what have you got? 2.5 out of 7. Question number 8. Who was banned for 7 matches for headbutting an opposition player?
Hang on. What are you laughing at? What are you trying to put me off for?
Nothing.
You're trying to make out a very easy answer.
It is.
Hang on. That was... the headbutt. Now then, hang on a second. No, you're not talking about the one that Alan Pardew...
I'm not giving you any clues at all. I can't give you any clues.
The headbutt. Hang on. I'm trying to remember which team this guy plays for a minute. The headbutt. Alan Pardew was a manager.
Hurry you.
He got banned for 3 games, I think. Taken out of the stadium. He's wearing glasses today.
Why have you got your hands over your eyes?
Because I'm trying to concentrate. Let me just think. 7 games. Oh, I know. 7 games for the headbutt. That was... it wasn't Balotelli, was it? It was somebody like that, though. Hang on.
All right, I'll give you 10 more seconds.
All right, hang on. Yeah, let me just think. It was... He stuck the nut on somebody. Take that. Who was that?
It wasn't anyone from Take That.
Oh, no, I know that. Yeah, it was somebody very famous.
Right.
Very famous.
Somebody very famous.
I'm going to
answer?
I'm going to say Alan Pardew.
Alan Pardew is correct.
Oh,
you are
hey!
technically correct.
But I'm only going to give you half a point because I reminded you of it just before the news at the bottom of the hour.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
Rubbish. You can't possibly say that. That is gerrymandering at its worst.
No, because remember you said that because I said he has to take his glasses off when he's on the touchline in case he headbutts somebody.
Well, I didn't remember. I don't remember that.
Well, you made a big song and dance about it.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
You got 3 out of 8.
No, I didn't. No, I've now got 3.5.
Question number 9.
Taking that point off me.
Question number 9.
I'll pick up a chair and attack you with it if you...
Stop making violent comments on the radio. Question number 9. In February, Matteo Renzi became the youngest man to be Prime Minister of which country?
Matteo Renzi? Matteo Renzi became the youngest Prime Minister of Italy.
Italy, good guess.
You are
correct.
Technically correct.
Thank
the
you
best
very much.
kind
That
of
wasn't
correct.
a guess. I'm an expert in European politics.
Rubbish.
That's 4.
How long did he serve for?
That's 4.
How long did he serve for? That's 4 out of 9. Yeah, how long did he serve for? Since you're an expert in
it's
European
4.5
politics.
out of 9.
That's 4.
It's 4.5. It's exactly half.
No, you're only getting half for Alan Pardew. You're only getting half for Alan Pardew.
I'm not going to...
Now, you can get 5 out of 10 if you answer the last question correctly.
Right.
And I'm almost certain that you will get this one right.
I've got 4.5 at the moment. Yeah,
You've got 5. You've got 4 at the moment. Who called off their engagement days after the wedding invitations were sent out?
Rory McIlroy.
Correct.
You are technically correct.
That's 5.5.
The best kind of correct.
Woo.
All right, I'll tell you what, I've been a late intervention from the producer. You can get an extra half a point if you can name who he was engaged to.
He was engaged to Caroline Wozniacki.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Everybody's trying to help you.
That's 6, is it?
No, it's 5.5.
No, rubbish, that's
5.5.
6. No, you've gerrymandered again.
No,
That's 6, 60%.
It's 5.5 out of 10.
It's better with every quiz.
And look how happy you are.
My knowledge grows.
Yeah, that's half. That's 50%. That's not even a pass grade.
My knowledge grows like rosemary knows, and nobody knows but me.
No, shut up.
Remember that one?
No, I do remember it.
What was it called?
I don't know.
Edison
Love Grows,
Lighthouse.
wasn't it? What?
Well, Edison Lighthouse is the name of the group.
Yeah, that's not what it was called.
No, it's called Love Grows.
Love Grows.
My
That's
knowledge
what I said.
grows.
Yeah. Your knowledge grows. You now achieved what would be a fail grade in most boards of examiners.
No, that would be an A grade.
50%. No.
I got 6. I got 6.
An
That's
A grade.
60%.
An A grade would be above 80%.
Excuse me. That's an A. It's an A.
Hey,
It's a grade A.
Hey.
Yeah, well, I'm not going down that route
we'll
again.
I still
get a load of abuse from people who send me Twitter notes saying, hey.
Yeah, I know. Well,
because
one of your finest hours.
Because of your derogatory comments about it all.
What was that for?
What do you mean?
At the end there. What was that about?
What do you mean?
You just went
because I'm reading the story on the front page, because we're going to do stories on the front page.
We are doing that now,
and I thoroughly agree with this expert in cancer. Now, cancer's not a very funny subject to start talking about, but let me read this to you. It's on the front of the Daily Telegraph, right?
Yeah.
It says, majority of cancers, quotes, just down to bad luck. Landmark study plays down effects of unhealthy lifestyles and genetic faults. The majority of cancers are the result of bad luck rather than unhealthy lifestyles or inherited genetic faults, a Landmark study has found. So
this is a study in America, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not one crazy, individual doctor coming out with a wild theory. This is a well-researched document. Now, I totally agree with this, Mike. I know that, obviously you can increase your chances of getting cancer if you smoke 40 cigarettes a day. Everybody knows that. It's common sense. But nobody knew that until about 1950. Yeah. In the 1920s and 30s, nobody linked...
some of the adverts that they used to have for cigarettes were extraordinary, weren't they? I mean, encouraging people to smoke and all that kind of thing.
Be the He-Man and take the Marlboro cigarette and all that kind of stuff, you know. But the reason I say I can see the truth in this are for reasons like this. How many times do you meet the guy who says, my grandfather smoked 20 Woodbines a day all his life, 6 pints a day, lived till he was 92 and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And how many times do you see a guy who's so clean living, like Steve Jobs, the genius who ran Apple, who was struck down by cancer? Right. But I mean, he didn't do anything to contribute to his cancer.
And the figures are now so widespread that they say, I think, something like 1 in every 4 people now gets cancer, and we all know somebody who's died of cancer or who's got cancer, and that's true, isn't it?
Well, it is true. Now, what's the difference between lifestyle and modern day living? Do you see what I mean? Because, like, Stone Age man, nobody got cancer.
Well, you don't know that, really, do we?
We do. We do know that.
I think the thing about cancer is that before it was really discovered, before people knew what cancer was, people died of things which they presumed was something else.
Yeah, but you never hear of reports of people withering to death in the Middle Ages. We don't know of one single monarch. So, OK, most people are not written about in the Middle Ages, I agree. Right. But you show me any historical script which show a monarch ailing badly for the last 2 years of his life on his bed and all that. You didn't get cancer in those days because you weren't eating processed foods.
Yes.
And you weren't subject to things like household cleaning products. Yeah. And you weren't subject to the environment that you live in today with fumes coming out of cars and all that kind of stuff, which must contribute to cancer. So the difference between, your lifestyle and the world in which you live, I would say the world in which you live does contribute. And that's why, caveman and Stone Age man and medieval man didn't get cancer. Right. And today's products in the modern world which give you cancer. That's what I'd say. And you can be unlucky because, for instance, how about this? See, from the age of about sort of 14 to about 18, I worked in a petrol station.
I remember you telling me about that.
And in those days, you stood over the petrol tank and you pumped gas into that petrol tank, and the fumes...
Because nobody did self-service petrol in those days.
No self-service in those days. The fumes went all over right up your nose. Very often in those days, they didn't have a very good cut-off system. So often, the petrol would blow back, literally, all over, and that's why you were like a brown sort of coat thing.
Yeah, you wore sort of oily overalls,
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah. And they'd soak into it, so all day long you were breathing in petrol fumes and all that, right? Years later, excuse me, one of the lads I worked there with, when I say years later, he was 32, he died of cancer. And his mother always said she suspected that the work he was doing at the petrol station, when he was literally working amongst petrol fumes for sometimes 12 and 14 hours a day, days on end, weekends, all that kind of stuff, she thinks that gave him cancer.
Yeah.
And it was the lymph nodes.
Certainly, it's an interesting study because so much work has been done up to now, suggesting that in fact it is the result.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the point I'm trying to make to re-endorse this report is that I worked in exactly the same environment as him, and fingers crossed, touch wood, so far I haven't had cancer.
No, of course, absolutely.
So who knows?
Who knows is right. Now, we talked a little bit about some of these pictures, shocking pictures in all the papers. On the front page of the Daily Mirror, carnage, and it's that picture of the girl who is lying flat out, absolutely drunk out of her mind.
Mike, there's a worse one on the front of the Sun. A drunken yob punches a girl in the face as the New Year gets off to a shocking start. Yeah. This, believe it or not, was in Newcastle. I didn't think men in Newcastle went around punching women in the face. Yeah. It's disgusting.
Absolutely horrendous. Yeah. Let's have a look at the front page of the Daily Express. This is a kind of a financial paper, a 10% boost for your pension. Millions may benefit from bonus scheme.
Yeah.
Now, this says people could add thousands of pounds to their state pensions by delaying taking it for a year or more. This is a big kind of bugbear, isn't it? Because remember, George Osborne said he doesn't really care whether if you want to take it, take your pension all at once and buy a Lamborghini, because it'll actually stimulate the economy.
Yes.
And lots of people have decided to do that because actually they've worked out that it might be better to take the money in a lump sum and put it into property or buy something with it, which will be good for the economy.
Yeah.
And what they're now saying is that actually, if you now delay taking your pension in the first place, you can get 10% more.
Well, can I tell you this? That this idea unveiled by Mr Osborne, look, just take all your money, Osborne, just take your money and go and spend it, is completely impractical.
Why?
I know people who work in the pensions industry, and even if 10% of people who have pensions decide to cash in on them in the way that they are, it can't possibly be processed in the next 2 or 3 years.
Right.
There'll be
you mean there's not enough people to be able to do it?
There's just not enough people to do it. The processing, I mean, for instance, people who want to cash in pensions have to go and find a birth certificate, and they have to get all the documentation right. Yeah, it's very, very
Doesn't it kind
detailed.
of happen by naturally?
No, well,
don't you get a kind of communique from the pensions department to say you've now reached the age where you can collect your pension?
It does if it goes that long, but if you want to take it out early,
I see,
you've got to prove exactly who you are, because it's been 30 years since you started paying in. You've got to reprove who you are and that kind of stuff, and all sorts of checks are made, and also there are big tax implications if you take all the money at once. You pay huge amounts of tax.
Well, this was the other thing that was criticised, wasn't it? Because he made out that actually you can take it all at once and there's no problem. Actually, you can't.
Oh, it's huge.
You can only take up to an amount.
25% is tax-free. The other 75% is taxed at the very highest rate, which, of course, is 45% in this country at the moment. Just going on, Mike, back to those pictures of the street and all that. It's another sad sign of the decline of the newspaper industry. And you and I grew up in the newspaper industry, so we like to see it strong and bold and all that. And I'm not having a go at any of the papers. I understand why it happens. But in every paper, the pictures of girls lying around on pavements in the streets are exactly the same.
Yeah.
Now, in our day, what would have happened
They would have sent their own photographers out.
At least 10 of them across the country.
Right.
The picture would have been told, right, I want somebody out in Newcastle, somebody out in Liverpool, and they would have worked for the Daily Express.
Right.
And they'd have gone, right.
Now they all come from the same agency.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
One local boy goes out and the pictures go all round. And that's where newspapers now are failing to offer individual appeal.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. Don't disagree with that. Front page of the Times will interest you.
Yes.
Boost for families as petrol heads to £1 a litre. So I'm looking forward to that myself, I have to say.
Yeah. Well, being a student of economics, Mike, I can tell you that there is a level...
Don't say that you're a student of
No.
economics. You are not a student of economics.
I'm a student of economics.
Rubbish. Absolute
I took economics at A-level and got a very decent pass.
Really?
I got a C.
50%?
No,
a C was 50%.
Well...
A D was 40%.
Anyway, let me tell you this. There's a certain level at which petrol should not go down any further.
Why?
Because the depressive effect on the world's wealth will hit everybody.
That's not true at all. Because as you well know, it's an awful lot cheaper in America, right? Yeah. Already, and always has been. It's an awful lot cheaper in the Middle East. So it's wrong to say, because most of the petrol price is actually a tax, as you know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it in this country is.
That's what I mean.
That's not true of other countries.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is that the pound a litre price.
Let me tell you this.
It's already a lot cheaper than that in America. It's already a lot cheaper than that in the Middle East.
Let me tell you this. The recession in the mid-'70s, in 1974, happened because that came 6 or 7 years after the Middle East countries realised what wealth they were sitting on. And people like
OPEC.
They formed OPEC, and people like Colonel Gaddafi threw the Americans out of the country and said, we're going to nationalise this and take it for ourselves. Now, Saudi Arabia weren't quite as brutal as that, but they came to negotiations where they acquired 99% of the wealth in their country instead of 50%, OK? Now, 6 years later, in 1974, they then had a huge pile of the world's money, because everybody buys petrol, and the money eventually goes back to Saudi Arabia, or, Qatar, or one of the Middle East countries, United Arab Emirates and all that kind of stuff. All that money was sitting in banks, the property of the Middle East countries, and the world was starved of cash, right?
No, I don't remember it that way at all.
No, I do. That's exactly how it happened. It starved of cash. Now, this time round, there wasn't a recession for the 80s, because they then decided, hang on, we've got to start spending this money to keep the world economy going, because without the world economy, nobody's going to buy any more petrol. You see what I mean? So then that's when the flood of money came into Western Europe, and they started buying hotels in Paris and office blocks in London, and car companies in Germany, and investing in America. They had to distribute that money around the world, okay? And that's what happened. Now, what's going to happen now is, if their wealth is cut in half, Their spending power is cut in
But
half.
the last recession we had was not about anybody hoarding money, was it?
The last recession we had was about people spending too much money. Right?
So how is that equitable with what you've just explained?
Because that was down to government incompetence.
Spending money that didn't exist.
That's right. It was largely down to the economic community living on fairy tale, fresh air ideas that money grows on trees. So just advised every country to keep spending because don't worry, it'll come from somewhere. Right. People who run economies like Greece and places like that simply do not realise that you have to have wealth creators. They think that everybody should be entitled to go to a hole in the wall in a bank somewhere and draw as much money as they want every day and go and spend it.
And the EU will back them up.
Yeah, they're not worried about who's actually earning the money.
Well, that's not
as long as Germany are earning it,
that's
most of Europe are happy for Germany to earn money and everybody else to spend it. That's the way the thinking goes that got us into the last recession. Why are you just started
shouting instead of listening to me?
Because you won't listen to the facts.
The reason that the Greek economy collapsed was because they made them take the euro, and they were never really in a position to do that. And when they started exporting their products to places like Germany, they found out that actually their products were no longer competitive at price because the German stuff was already cheaper. That's why it all went horribly wrong. It was the euro system that made it all wrong.
But it also went wrong for another reason in Greece, Mike. First of all, the government spent far too much money. Hang on.
We haven't got time.
And Greece is the most inefficient country at collecting taxes and revenues than any other country in the world.
That's true too.
Most people who had any money...
At the time.
Hang on.
No, you can't hang on.
Most people who had any money in Greece just built big villas with big walls, and when the taxman came knocking, literally, they told him to get lost, and he never came back.
Well, and that's what I'm going to tell you to do in a minute, because we run out of time. Look into the light for a moment. Sandra Lee is coming up. That was meant to be a paper review. We did get through some of the front pages. We are the two Mikes.
It was an economic lecture.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. It is, of course, 2015, and it's been 2015 in Australia for slightly longer than it has been here. And they're already into the end, getting near the end of the second, and coming up to a big weekend over there as well. So we're going to talk to our very good friend, Ms. Sandra Lee, and wish her a very, very happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Sandra.
Oh, thank you very much, Mike, and Happy New Year to you and to all your wonderful listeners.
Now, I have to say, I'm a keen sort of student of the fireworks as they unfold throughout the course of the world. I thought Dubai's was pretty magnificent, but I thought Sydney's was brilliant last night. And I say last night because it was last night for us.
That's right, they were. And I think that everybody can sort of put their hand on their heart and say that Australia, well, Sydney particularly, does the best fireworks in the world. Consistently, every year we pull off an absolute bonza.
Dubai claim that they are catching up with you, and next year theirs will be better even than Sydney.
Well, let them talk big now.
I was going to say...
see.
Well, I bet you they spent a lot more money than Sydney. I mean, they were unbelievably kind of spectacular because of that massive, great big sort of building they've got there.
They all came out of,
and I thought London's were a bit disappointing, actually, this year, somehow.
Well, London's
were they?
Well, they actually sounded they were supposed to be better than ever because they actually targeted them to come out the top of the Shard, which is Europe's biggest building. But somehow it didn't seem to come over. It didn't look the part. But anyway, now Sandra, I wanted to talk to you, please, about a domestic issue going on in Australia, and that is Mr Abbott, your Prime Minister, apparently on some talk show in the last few days, and made what some people think is the heinous comment that most domestic budgets, i.e. household spending, is looked after by the lady of the house, and got himself into a bit of trouble.
Well, the feminists are always going to have a shot at our Prime Minister, Mr Abbott, and seriously, as a woman who does the budget in our household, I was not one bit offended by it. It's just craziness that goes on with some of sort of the hysteria to attack our Prime Minister.
I mean, did he apologise, or was he asked to apologise?
Usually you have to apologise for
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, did he have to really grovel or anything like that?
Well, not really, because it's normally the sort of the inner city lefty Chardonnay sipping, chattering classes who always have a shot at him, and it's kind of like their weekly sport for them. But I really think that most people in Australia would probably say, well, actually, he has a point, because a lot of women outside of the inner city, sort of the top of the professional tree, they are the ones who are looking after the family and the family budget.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what you're actually saying, Sandra, is not much of a story at all, really. Porky claims to have uncovered this great scandal. It turns out it's not a scandal at all. Nobody cares.
No.
You've got it completely wrong.
You've completely missed the point of this. It was a story, but Sandra's saying these people will moan and complain about anything. They target the Prime Minister, and they shouldn't have done. But it was a story because they did, didn't they, Sandra?
That's absolutely right. They did have a go at him, and he's kind of, he's the whipping boy for the feminazis in Australia, pretty much. They do not like him, and it doesn't matter what he's going to do. They're going to have a snipe where they can.
Absolutely.
There's no woman running the household income, household budget in your house, is there?
Sorry?
What do you mean, sorry?
Well, there isn't a woman in my house, so there couldn't be, could there?
Well, no, there is no woman, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no,
so it's not true in your case.
My housekeeper runs the budget for all the cleaning and the dry cleaning and all that kind of stuff.
I thought you went and bought it all the pound store, you told me.
No, she goes and gets it for me. I just sometimes add it up.
Really?
Now, Sandra, I don't want to catch you out or anything like this, but it came to my attention that within the last week, in 1901, the Commonwealth of Australia was established.
That's right, Federation in 1901, and it was done in Centennial Park, in the heart of the Sydney CBD area, and so we're now, what does that make us? 114 years old as a federation.
Yeah, and what actually changed then in 1901? What was it before then, so to speak? And
gosh, I'm lucky I went to a good Catholic girls' school that I know my history on this one, Mike. You really have thrown me a curly.
Yeah.
But no, it was basically before Federation in 1901. We were a country of colonies, individual colonies, and then we became one federal government, and still with states.
That's really interesting. So things like West Australia, the Northern Territories, Queensland, and all that, were all individual, were they?
They were all independent, and they were all highly competitive, and they all had different free market economies going on. But once Federation came into being, all of that changed, and now we have sort of the national economy, and the competition is much less.
Oh, okay. And we had these conversations, I suppose, in under more like when the Labour government was in about Commonwealth and the Queen, and whether and there was a referendum, wasn't there, which the people who wanted to keep the Queen actually won. Is there likely to be, do you think, at some point? Maybe not while the Queen is still the monarch here, but is there likely to be some kind of movement again, Sandra, to kind of to separate Australia more out of the Commonwealth and make it more kind of independent?
Look, that argument goes on all the time in Australia. It's constantly bubbling behind in the background. But I think since Will and Kate are now sort of, rising fast up the food chain in the Royals, and they came to Australia last year, and they were absolutely loved. Everybody loved them. And there were a lot of polls done at the time, and people said, you know what, we're quite happy with having the Queen as our monarch at the moment. I think that if there was no sort of, future down the track with Wills and Kate, there would probably be a push for a republic, but at the moment it seems like that's not going to happen.
OK, fine. And do you...
What do you mean, OK, fine?
Sorry?
OK, fine.
Because I like that explanation of what's going on. Yeah, is that OK with you?
Well, no, it was a strange thing to come out with.
Why?
OK, fine.
Why?
Well, I don't know. It's just an odd thing to say.
Oh, really? Yeah, you think so? Just ignore him, please, Sandra. He gets on my wick. Sandra, what I was going to say is, it's the World Cricket Cup this year, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And it's known as the World Cup, isn't it?
What?
It's known as the World Cup.
Yeah, but it's
not
cricket.
The World Cricket Cup.
Well, it's not football, it's not rugby.
Well, you'd call it the Cricket World Cup, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's what I called it.
You call it the World Cricket Cup.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it?
No.
You see, splitting hairs again. What I was going to say was, Sandra, you're going
to be following it avidly, obviously.
Yes, of course, yes. You've had the boy Peterson down there lobbying the Australian cricket fans to get him back in the England team. I'd have thought they'd have been delighted to help in that because he's so hopeless.
I have to admit, I am not a serious cricket tragic,
sure.
But he has been down. He
exactly.
has been down here, and
exactly.
People have been, having a bit of a laugh about it. And I think everybody would like him back in the team because actually, you know what, he does provide a bit of light entertainment.
Yeah, well, he does, but up here now he's a reviled figure.
He's not
reviled.
No, he's not.
He
is
a reviled figure.
He's a kind of he's a polarising figure because a lot of people think that actually he certainly is good enough to get into the current England team because the current England team isn't very good. And he's also box office, isn't he? And at the end of the day, Sandra, that's why he takes part in the Big Bash because Shane Warne knows that people actually quite enjoy having him around.
That's right. That's exactly right. And, we have to look at sports now as box office. It's what it's all about.
Yep.
If you don't have bums on seats and if you don't have money coming in through sort of the turnstiles, we're not going to have a game to watch.
No, that's absolutely right.
Sandra, well, thank you so much once
Sandra,
again for joining
ever
us.
so much.
I know time is short, so have a great new year, and we should look forward to talking to you many times in 2015.
Indeed.
It's always my pleasure. Thank you so much.
Have you made? Actually, before I let you go, have you made any resolutions? I haven't managed to get any out of Porky yet. What's your next? Give us one of your resolutions.
To drink champagne once a day at least.
Hey, that's a brilliant resolution.
That is a brilliant resolution. Thank you very much, Sandra. Very happy New Year.
Exactly.
You don't like champagne, do you?
No, I don't actually.
Although I've noticed lately, whenever you and I have been out, you've been partaking of more champagne than you used to.
Well, no, I'll have a Bucks Fizz if there's some orange in it, because that calms down the bubbles. But you've got to remember, Mike, only 1/3 of my heart works, OK?
Yeah, I know, you keep saying that.
No, hang on.
Well, it didn't stop you drinking 1/3 of the bottle on the train and down at Cheltenham.
Hang on. If those bubbles get to the vital areas of the aorta valves and all that in the heart, bang, it'll go, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you keep saying.
I have to be very, very careful.
You know my doubts about these kind of warnings that you send out.
But a bit of Bucks Fizz with some orange, so that weakens the old champagne content.
Did you drink any over the holiday period?
Well, I took the family out on Sunday. We went to a place called Harbour Heights, which is a 5-star hotel in Bournemouth.
Very nice.
And, that was, me celebrating being with the family and all that kind of stuff. And I bought 2 bottles of Bollinger for the family.
Oh,
before,
really?
Yes.
Oh, what? This is the champagne that you give me a hard time for buying. Well, so it's all right for you to buy it.
No, but you buy it to stick down your own throat.
That's not true.
I bought
absolute rubbish.
I bought it for members of my family.
No, that's what I do.
Whilst I drank some Chardonnay.
Yeah, well, I mean, I bought it to have with my daughter. I bought it to have with other members of my family as well.
You drink most of it, though, because you've got big mouth, big gob.
No, it's just another example of your double standards.
No,
what is good for the goose is good for the gander, is what I say.
I don't think so.
Now, contrary to popular belief, this is not the start of the new year Porky Vision section. We'll be doing that coming up in the next hour.
Right.
Some people might have said, has Porky just discovered that show? Is he going to now tell us whether he likes it or not?
How
but
funny
of course,
is that?
that was the signature tune of what television show?
Hawaii 5-0.
Hawaii 5-0. Book 'em, Dano.
Welcome, Dano.
I thought that was a fantastic programme, by the way.
What was the name of the lead cop? Jack somebody?
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it was. Do you mean in real life, or do you mean in
the character?
In the character, yeah. Jack Lord, wasn't it?
Lord.
No, wasn't he the actual actor?
Was he the actor?
Yeah.
Was he? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what his name was in the show then.
No.
Why did you think it was so fantastic? I thought it was quite amateurish.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was very kind of exotic, because I've never been to Hawaii. I always thought that, it looked like one of those incredible places. And I think when you're a kid, you never quite understand how a place like that is part of America. I never really quite knew how far away from America it was, because it's as far away from California as New York is from California, isn't it?
It's as far away from California as Great Britain is from New York. Do you see what I mean?
Well, that's the same.
Yes, the width.
I've just said that.
The width of the Atlantic from London to New York
is about
the same as the width of the Pacific from LA to Hawaii.
Exactly.
So
which is similarly the distance between New York and LA.
Hawaii to New York, 6,000 miles.
Yes,
that is quite some distance.
Yeah, but the reason for that is I've just explained to you is that from London to New York is about 3,000 miles.
Yes.
Right? From New York to LA is about 3,000 miles, and from LA to Hawaii is about 3,000 miles.
I've just told you all that.
I know, but you didn't have to interrupt me.
What number state is Hawaii?
What number?
Yeah,
number 50.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And actually, it's not given a number technically.
No,
there are 50 states.
Yeah, it's the 50th state. It was the last state to be attached to the Union.
Really?
Used to be 49 states. Well, and then Hawaii.
Well, yeah, but it's not really known as the 50th state.
It is known as the 50th state.
What do you know about Hawaii? You've never been there, have you?
No, I haven't been there, but I mean, I know a lot about the American geopolitical makeup.
Oh, really?
Now, for instance, if you thought that was okay, Hawaii 5-0, why are we talking about Hawaii? I'm going to tell the listeners. We're talking about Hawaii.
Why are we talking about Hawaii?
Because I have discovered in my research that there is a scandal going on in Hawaii. It's a holiday paradise, right?
It is.
But it is now...
And it's kind of a stopping off point, isn't it, on the way to Australia for some people?
It is, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah. You're
Change
right,
planes and whatever.
It is now so wealthy a piece of real estate, as the Americans would call it, a bit like Manhattan, that the people who man the hotels and the tourist industry brings in $14 billion US a year, but the people who make it work, who flip the burgers and change the beds and serve the drinks, can no longer afford to live in any property there.
Oh, really?
So they all live on the beach. They're all homeless bums.
Right.
All the workers in Hawaii are homeless bums.
Well, they're living in sort of shacks, you mean?
They live on the beach.
They can't all be homeless. They're not
they
homeless,
live on the beach because, it's all year round sunshine, so you don't need any roof over you.
So they're not homeless, though, are they?
They are. They're all homeless. They're all
not
homeless
if they're living on the beach and they're choosing to live on the beach.
They are.
Where are you getting this information from?
Because I've researched it.
Is this another one of your contacts?
No. I've got a report. Here we go. Right, here we go.
What do we keep saying? Here we go.
I know. The sun.
Can we get on with it?
The sun. Excuse me, you upset me now. Right, the sun.
You may not last until Porky Vision.
It's true. The sun sets on Waikiki Beach and Koa. That's KOA. Still has a few hours. Oh, he's a bloke. I thought it was a place. Right. A few hours.
I'm going to read a piece out of some paper.
I'm reading a report. It's a report. Before its 9 p.m. shift.
It sounds like a drop intro. It's going to take ages to get so many facts.
No, cleaning the food court at the Ala Moana Mau. He says he's trying to better himself, but he's homeless. I know it's tough. He finishes work at 3 a.m.
Why are you reading this out?
Because I'm reading from the report. This is part of the report about the crisis.
Can you not, sub it down?
There's a crisis in Hawaii. I'm trying to tell you what the crisis is.
What does this guy do?
I'm just telling you. He hang on. What he does is what does he do? I'm trying to find out what he does. He's
you prepare any of this before you came on.
He runs a food concessionary, apparently. Anyway, Hawaii has one of the worst rates of homelessness in the whole of the United States.
That's better.
Its jobless rate is below 5%.
Okay.
But the very high price of housing keeps even many workers on the streets. Median monthly rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in Honolulu.
Yeah.
No. On a surfboard is more than one. That was the famous line in that joke thing about
joke thing?
You know, the one that made fun of all the detectives. You know, hey, Cannon, are you coming? No, I've got a flat. Oh, Cannon, you're fired. You know, and all that. Remember all that?
No, I don't remember any of that.
No, you should remember all that. You know, sorry, it wasn't the guy who got the flat. Was the guy in the wheelchair? What was his name?
Ironside.
Yeah, Ironside. Are you coming? No, I've got a flat. And then Cannon, you come in? No, I've just been fired. And when they got round to Jack Lord.
Who did this then?
I don't know, some guy made a spoof record. When they got on to Jack Lord, they said, hey, Jack, where are you working? He says, Honolulu? No, on a surfboard. That was really good. Anyway, right, on the island of Oahu, right?
Oahu.
Is that right? Yeah.
Say that again. Say that again.
I thought it was Oahu.
Oahu.
Where 3/4 of Hawaii's homeless live, right?
Right.
Sleeping rough has just got tougher. December the 2nd just gone, Honolulu's mayor, a guy called Kirk Caldwell, signed a bill that bans people from sitting or lying on the busiest public pavements between 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. Those who do so will be fined $1,000 and jailed for 30 days.
Well, these are not people that work in the tourist industry, then,
are they? Of course they are.
No,
of course they are.
You said the guy works at a concession stand.
Yeah, but that's in the tourist industry.
Well, no, it's not.
He serves burgers or something.
Well, it's like a hot dog stand, isn't it? So he's not working in one of the hotels.
Well, he's working outside a hotel. Oh, here, I've just found out who he is. He cleans...
found out who he is.
He cleans the food court at the Ala Moana Mau. Okay?
Yeah.
So this guy is a worker, but he sleeps on the pavement.
Right.
How about that?
Yeah, well, astonishing.
I mean that is quite incredible for me. And anyway, what they're saying is that how can you have so much wealth, so much poverty in the same place? They're worried that the favelas, so famously... Favelas, so famously portrayed in the Brazil in the World Cup, may move to Hawaii.
Well, I mean, there's an awful lot of parts of the United States where there is massive homelessness.
At least they've got trailer parks.
Well, no, trailer parks are not for people who are homeless. Trailer parks are for people who live in trailer parks.
Yeah, but, I'm talking about poor, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, but they're not homeless. The people who are homeless, who live on the streets of America's cities, are growing in number. And that's a massive problem over there.
All the people living in sewers in New York, you mean? All that kind of stuff?
Well, did I ever tell you about when I went underneath Grand Central?
Oh, no, I don't know about that.
There are loads of people living under the ground in Grand Central. Yeah, I went down there with a photographer.
Like rats?
Well, not like... Well, there were rats down there as well, but we literally went down and as you go below the lower level of the track...
Yeah.
There's you can go down another level where the Oyster Bar used to be, and there was a set of stairs, and we went down. I went with the photographer, and he took a taser gun with him in case some of these homeless people were not particularly, friendly.
Yeah. So knock them out. Yeah,
but we went down there, and
idea.
And there's literally corridors and caverns and incredible sort of rooms, and we came across places where people had little cookers set up. They had
beds.
They were hanging their clothes. Beds, yeah, absolutely.
Apparently, it's very big in Las Vegas. The amount of money that goes through Las Vegas, and yet there is an underground community there, a big one, a really big one in the sewers. But what I was going to say was, you said that you liked Hawaii Five-0, although it goes back 30 or 40 years.
It does. They remade it, though, didn't they?
Not to my knowledge.
I think they did, yeah.
Really, is it?
It's on TV at the moment.
Is it really?
Well, considering that you're, the TV reviewer of reviewers...
I only review quality.
You should know that.
I review quality. Well, what I was going to say was, the programme which I could never get my head around because it was so pathetic was Magnum.
Magnum.
Pathetic.
That was shot in Hawaii, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was the bigger...
Magnum was all right.
Magnum was rubbish.
We didn't like Tom Selleck.
Tom Selleck's such a wooden actor, and he was good.
I don't think that's true. Did you not see Three Men and a Baby?
Moustache. No, never saw that.
You never saw that?
And
he was good in that.
Driving around in a stolen Ferrari, right, which is part of the plot. Then some English guy who's the Lord of the Manor or the servant to the Lord of the Manor, could never quite work that out, right? And Tom Selleck, ex-Green Beret, they always are, aren't they, these private detectives, you know what I mean? Going round...
And with a very loud shirt on.
Yeah, always very loud shirts and all that. And to me, it was just nonsense, complete and utter drivel.
Well, I've got an update for you. Considering that your exclusive report there that you just read out didn't really have any facts in it at all.
It did.
The people who actually do the real research on this show have come up with some more information. That Caldwell, Mr Caldwell, the mayor that you referred to, apparently has promised $3 million to house 100 of the city's homes. There's another $43 million for affordable housing to be built in the coming years.
Yeah, but that's only a promise. That's only a promise.
Well, it's a promise, but they're
at the moment
they're
all sleeping on pavements and on the beach. I mean, listen, when we go to Spain, or when you go to Spain, you used to go to Spain, you didn't see all the hotel workers sleeping on the beach or on the pavements, did you?
Well, no, because they didn't.
No, they didn't. They slept in the hotels. They had like
I'm not sure
servants' quarters.
I'm not sure you've done enough research.
I've done all my research. I know what I'm talking about. You didn't even know the story existed till I told you, did you? Yeah. By the way, the other thing I found out researching this was, I didn't realise how many states in the United States don't have a ban on smoking.
Don't have a ban on smoking?
Don't have a ban on smoking.
I didn't realise either.
There's no ban in Wyoming,
really?
Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Tennessee. What's this ridiculous record?
It's that song you were going on about.
Making a record.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry.
Here we go.
Go right ahead. Well, there you go. Now, when I first
How do you even know
came
this
to
stuff?
New York, I was making a lasso in the park. When a man
I remember these things.
I don't remember this at all.
I remember it.
The lasso made ooh, that was his wife.
See, it's a funny one.
It's rubbish, isn't it?
Funny one. We need the punchline about Cannon, you're fired. But anyway, we'll get to that later. Yeah, so, like, for instance, Virginia, West Virginia...
Well, that's not true about Virginia, because I've been to Virginia and there is a smoking ban in public places.
No.
You can't smoke inside anywhere in Virginia.
No.
I was in Virginia in June.
No, Virginia, the state.
Yeah, I was in Virginia.
There is no smoking ban.
That's rubbish.
No.
It's not true.
Individual owners of individual properties can impose their own ban, but there is no state ban on smoking, OK? So, for instance, in places like Texas, there's no state ban on smoking, although a lot of cities like Dallas and Houston and all that.
Well, I can tell you this.
You
can go to any place in Virginia and you can't smoke.
Well, that's not according to my information, pal.
I was there in June. That's what I'm telling you.
Were you? What are you doing there?
I went to visit my son who was graduating from high school.
Of course you did, yeah. Well, you were in the wrong place, that's all I can say.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I feel like I'm in the wrong place now as well. That music can only signify one thing. It is the first of the year. It's Porky Vision, where Mr. Parry's going to tell us all about the good shows that he watched over the Christmas period, the bad shows as well, I suppose, and what we should be looking forward to in the coming year of 2015.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you got used to saying that yet, by the way?
What?
2015.
2015. Yeah, I have, because I signed a cheque today.
Well, funnily enough, we were talking about this yesterday, because most people now don't really write cheques.
They don't.
And it used to be one of those terrible things that you would get to the beginning of the new year, and you'd always have to rip up about 85 of the cheques.
I wrote a cheque out for
the wrong year on.
Quite a substantial sum to settle my obligations to the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure we'd be very grateful.
These things happen. Now, listen, television-wise...
Yes.
Have I already reviewed Downton Abbey?
You have.
I have, right. Okay,
yeah, you did that on Monday, I think. Well, we talked about it on Monday.
Excuse me, yeah. Well, it was all right.
The Christmas special.
But it was a bit
We agreed that it was a bit long.
It was a bit long. It's over 2 hours, 2 hours and 10 minutes.
And you basically said that we think the show's run its course.
Yeah, it's run its course. And also, because I'd only watched half it when I last told you about it.
Yeah. You hadn't watched the other half, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was how you got all upset about the grouse shooting.
Yeah, that's right, exactly, yeah. Now we've seen the other half. It just, honestly, the plot just petered out in the end. And it's a load of people standing around a Christmas tree singing Christmas carols.
Well, it was a Christmas special.
Yeah, but also...
That's why they were doing it.
The fine line. You know, I think the best description of the way that those stately homes ran in Victorian times was upstairs, downstairs.
Yes.
So if there's a fine line between upstairs and downstairs, that's now been completely blurred in Downton Abbey. Because now...
But that's
the
the point, isn't it?
The toffs are all helping the workers downstairs,
right.
one of whom's accused of a murder
point.
she didn't do.
But that's the point.
So he sent his lawyers in to help her. It was all bollocks.
But that's the point, because it's meant to be a metaphor for the society changing and becoming a much more equal society.
Yeah. Now, there's another programme...
Sorry for interrupting you.
No, it's okay.
But yeah.
But you're only agreeing
that's
with
one
me.
of the things you do when you're not paying any attention to what I'm saying.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to tell you about a programme now which I thought was absolute garbage, but which got great write-ups in the paper.
OK.
Now, this was called Map and Lucia, right?
Map and Lucia? I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
What was that on then?
It was on BBC.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, OK.
Now, this got like 4-star ratings on the papers, but I watched it. And
Can you outline the plot for us loosely?
No, I can't, because I couldn't understand it.
Well, what's it about?
It's about a little town called Tilling, and it stars Miranda Richardson and Anna Chancellor, who are two women vying for the affections of one man, and the one man is Steve Pemberton.
Oh, yeah.
And Steve Pemberton...
What sort of time frame is it set in?
I think it's supposed to be sort of post-Victorian.
OK.
I think it's like in the 20s or something, you know. Yeah. But you couldn't really tell, because it was rubbish. It was utter rubbish from start to finish. It was just people making strange faces at each other, like, no, seriously. No, seriously. These two women...
Sure, it wasn't the gurning competition you
found. But what was strange was these two women were vying for the affection of the man, but the man was homosexual anyway.
Right.
So none of it made sense. Now, that guy was played by Steve...
Was it not based on a book or something?
Yeah, it was, yeah, it is. It is, based on a book. Steve Pemberton. Now, I'll tell you who Steve Pemberton is. You know, in that fantastic series about the East End, starring Rupert somebody or other, who's a top actor.
Rupert Everett?
No, somebody else. And what they did is
Rupert Grinch?
No. Jack the Ripper came back in modern-day England.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys went out to find him, you know what I mean? And the guy who was the...
Was that at Ripper Street?
No, it was like Ripper Street, but it wasn't Ripper Street, because Ripper Street is set in the Victorian times.
Yeah.
This is right up to bang modern date.
Okay.
Now, the guy who played the Ripper specialist in that, very sinister guy, who gave guided tours to the East End and all the murder routes, was this guy called Steve Pemberton.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he plays a guy called George Pilson, and it's a three-part...
You've lost me already, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, I couldn't find anything... I couldn't find any interest in it. It's a three-part adaptation from a series of 6 books by the novelist E.F. Benson.
Right.
As in, Benson the driver in that famous American TV series.
Benson, yeah.
Oh, was it called Benson?
It was called Benson.
Was it? Oh, right, okay, yeah. I didn't realise that. I thought it was just the name of the driver. I wonder
it was called Benson.
I always wondered what that series was called, Anyway, so...
Benson and Hedges.
That's right, yeah. So
famous detective duo.
So it says here that... oh, excuse me.
What do you mean it says here? This is meant to be your review, not somebody else's.
No,
You're reading somebody else's review now.
What I'm saying is I'm knocking down the other
Have they done all
reviews.
3 parts yet?
No, they did 2 by the time I'd finished looking at it, and I couldn't...
When's the third one out, then?
I don't know. I only watched half of the first, and I thought it was rubbish, and I switched it off. But
as long as you don't give away the ending.
But this report says Benson's wit is wonderful because it breathes so slowly. He doesn't serve up one-liners like PJ Woe does. But I watched it, and I couldn't make any sense out of it. It was complete and utter nonsense.
Right.
There's another reviewer here. If, like me... You felt let down by the Christmas Downton in which the Crawley family pile was recast as the Queen Vic pub from EastEnders. Then you should have seen the social
Why
decorum...
are you reading somebody else's review?
Hang on, because I'm going to knock it down. Fully restored in the shape of the BBC's 3-part adaptation of E.F. Benson's exquisitely crafted satire of social rivalry, Map and Lucia. But,
well, there you go. That's why I didn't get it.
And it was in a fictional village...
Because it's too subtle for you.
It was in a fictional village of Tilling, right? And which was actually Rye in near
Rye?
you. Yeah, in East Sussex.
Rye's very nice. Have you been there?
Was that where they did the Lieutenant's daughter?
No.
No, French
Lieutenant's woman.
That's
no,
right.
No, that was Bognor Regis.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Nowhere near Rye.
Well, somewhere down there, it's got a long wall that Meryl Streep stood on.
Yeah.
And nearly fell into
Bognor
the sea.
Regis.
Oh, it's Bognor Regis, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think it is Bogdan Regis. I think you're wrong.
That's where I got my sunglasses stolen by a seagull.
Ah, right, OK.
Told you that story, right?
No.
Flew into the side of my head while I was eating fish and chips.
No.
It actually mugged me. I'm not
Your
joking.
sunglasses?
I'm not joking.
You never get them back?
No, it flew off with them.
Good God, that's terrible.
I told you that story.
Oh, did you? OK.
I'm sure I did.
All right, OK. I probably wasn't listening.
No, I can tell you why you should know Rye, because you know who lives very near Rye, don't you?
Rye? No.
It's down the coast from Dover and Sandwich. It's down that sort of St Paul's that way.
Yeah.
Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney has a house.
I've been to Paul McCartney's house down there, and it's not on the coast.
No, it's not on the coast.
No.
It's very close to Rye, though.
It is.
Inland.
You're absolutely right. It's near to an airport as well. Because he's got it. No, he's
Lid,
got it.
is it?
Lid. That's right. Because he flies his planes in that there when he's on tour in Europe. Yeah. So anyway, this was the name of the show. What was it called?
What was the name of the show?
I'm just trying to find it. Hang on.
Is this the same show we're talking about, or a different show?
No, it's the same show. It was called...
Can we not move on to another show now? You've already established you don't like this one.
No, Map and Lucia got great reviews in all the papers. I found
Map
it utter
as in
rubbish.
like MAP?
Yeah, M-A-P-P.
Oh, is that the name of the woman?
I don't know. But anyway, it was Miranda Richardson and Anna Chancellor.
I like Miranda Richardson.
Yeah, I like Anna Chancellor. You know, both fine actors and all that. But completely baffling to me, baffling. Now, the other programme that was on...
Maybe you should watch it again.
Maybe I should, I don't know. But I still wouldn't get it. I sat there absolutely bemused and perplexed to what was going on. And you know when they like can't find where to take the plot next, they do a dream sequence.
I know how they feel.
Yeah. Don't be rude. Don't be rude.
I'm not being rude.
I'm trying to explain to our listeners what the intricacies of this television over Christmas was.
Yeah.
And they do a dream sequence, and then it's all like mystical and it's all rubbish. Anyway, now the other one, which. I didn't. What's wrong? What's wrong?
I'm just amused vaguely by your research materials.
No,
the rustling of newspaper.
Well, this is because again, I'm going to refer to a review and knock it down from my experience.
Right.
Now, I'm going to be terribly unpopular with our listeners here. This is about Miranda Hart.
This is not Miranda Richardson. Different Miranda.
No, Miranda Hart.
Yeah.
And it says here, after 5 years, Miranda finally gets a man. So this must be in the programme... Is this programme called Miranda? Yeah, it is, yeah.
It is, yeah.
That's right.
Because it was the last one last night, wasn't it?
Because she's been in
Don't give away what happens.
Hang on. No.
Don't give it away. Because, as ever, there will be people who haven't watched it yet.
No, well, that's their problem, not mine.
No, it's not. You
I'm
can't
reviewing
give it
the
away.
programme. She gets a man, they get married, they have a reception in a restaurant, OK? No, absolutely no problem at all, OK? And...
Are you sure there's not going to be another series?
Well, I don't know, there might be. No, there won't be. I think that's all over now. Now, the other thing is, this woman is also in Catch the Midwife.
Catch the Midwife?
Call the Midwife. Yeah, no, seriously. And what I'm saying is, Mark,
that's a parlour game. Catch the Midwife.
Catch the Midwife. No. Now, this must be something that appeals to women only. It must be.
I have to say, my sister was over,
right.
and they watched Downton Abbey over in the States, but they're a season behind.
Okay.
So they weren't that keen on watching, although they did end up watching her and my mother ended up watching the Christmas special.
Yeah.
But also, they like Call the Midwife, and I hate Call the Midwife. It's absolutely awful.
I've watched about 10 minutes of it. Saw Miranda Miranda Hart, riding around on a push bike.
Yeah.
Dressed as a nurse.
Catch the Midwife would be better, actually.
Well, yeah, OK.
You'd have a huge net.
Yeah, and I have to say, it didn't have one single iota of appeal to me, OK?
No, I can't imagine you'd like it.
So what I'm saying is...
Well, one of the things I really don't like about it is that they portray everyone who's poor as terribly honourable and decent and nice.
I see, yeah, right.
And everybody who's got any money as completely evil and
scheming.
Scheming.
And conniving.
And, exploitative, ghastly,
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it's one of those very PC type shows,
I know what you mean,
where, all the, we might be poor, but we're very honourable.
But the point is, how do I put this?
Hopefully in a way that we can broadcast.
Yeah. Is Miranda Hart, does she accept herself that she is not necessarily regarded as a great beauty as an actress? She's regarded as a very talented actress.
And comedian.
Yeah. Is that a fair way of putting it? Is it? Is that a fair way of putting it?
I think so. You're saying that she's not very attractive.
Well, I don't want to say that. I'd never say that about a woman. I think that's terribly offensive and all that. What I'm saying
is... That's what you mean, though, isn't it?
No. What I'm saying is...
She's actually looking quite good on the front page of the Daily Mail.
She didn't make her way through the world of showbiz and comedian, stuff and all that. Because... I mean, for instance,
Are you saying if she was in Catch the Midwife, you'd throw her back? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm trying to say is that some of the girls who star in things like EastEnders and Coronation Street are clearly 50% there because they are extremely good-looking.
Well, not all of them.
No, but some of them are.
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them are, okay? Particularly the girls in Emmerdale. They seem to really pick beauties to live in... What are you laughing at? Why couldn't you take this seriously?
Thinking about some of the people in Coronation Street who perhaps wouldn't win Miss World.
Well, no. You know what I'm talking about. I'm telling the younger actresses and all that. And all I'm saying is she clearly has an excess of talent.
Who was that woman you met at Cheltenham, by the way, who was in something or other? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, she was
the
in...
girl from Liverpool.
She was in Scylla.
That's right, yeah.
She was in Scylla.
You were very impressed with her.
Oh, she was a lovely little girl. She was one of the waitresses in the box we were in,
yeah,
the
she
Paddy
was,
Power
yeah.
box, and she had a broad Scouse accent, you know, and she was serving me a drink, literally, and I said, I'm originally from your part of the world, love. I said, I'm not a Scouse, I'm from Chester. She said, I'm from New Brighton
But
or somewhere.
did you know who she was at that point?
No. And I said, well, but Scylla had just finished.
Yeah.
And I said, I suppose you get mistake for Scylla Black round here, do you? She said, I was in that. I said, what do you mean? No, I was in it. I said, what, you... Oh, she said, I'm an actress. She said, but I have to do this to, earn some money when I'm not acting.
Right.
I said, that's lovely. I said, and what part did you play? She said, I was Bobby's brother's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you saw Scylla, do you remember at one
Is that about
stage...
the Kennedys?
Eh?
Bobby's brother's wife. Was that not
No.
Kennedy show?
Bobby was Scylla's husband.
Oh, right.
But they were boyfriend and girlfriend at this stage of the stage.
Okay.
And what happened was, Bobby's brother fell out with his dad about meeting a girl because she was of the wrong creed, or for want of a better word, because religious divide in Liverpool in those days. So he moved into a derelict house with his wife. And the wife was the girl who was the waitress in the box at Cheltenham. No, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was great.
Well, sadly, that's the end of the Porky Vision review section.
Oh, all right. Why are you laughing?
Because you haven't reviewed anything.
I have.
That was the Two Mics podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mics.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?